have colic. Great. Good afternoon and welcome to the City Commission conference meeting this February 2nd. We commemorate Groundhog's Day today. I'm not sure if Puxatani Phil has seen his shadow. We'll know tomorrow. Anyway, so here we are. We're beginning the City of Fort Lauderdale virtual and in-person meeting. The public will be able to listen to and view commission meetings at www.fortlauderdale.gov/FLTV, www.youtube.com/City of Fort Lauderdale, as well as on Comcast Channel 78 and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. I just want to know, why do I keep saying that? Because no one can even hear me say that unless they're already on one of these channels. Okay, just pointing that out. Okay, but if you are on one of those channels, you may be able to sign up to speak as follows. Please click on the following link: bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. That's bit.ly/virtual CC meetings. Now, to help ensure decorum, we ask that you please abide by the following guidelines. Please refrain from any behavior that is disruptive, distractive, profane, or inhibits the meeting in any way. While you are on the phone waiting for your opportunity to speak, please mute the meeting broadcast on whatever station you're following. And if you're watching simultaneously, please make sure you do mute that. I will call upon you when it's your turn to speak and also notify you when your time has expired. City staff has automatically added speakers in the to listen only mode, and you will be unmuted to speak when recognized. Once you have completed speaking, you will be muted and may either hang up to exit the meeting or stay connected to listen to the remainder of the meeting. Okay, having said that, let us begin with our commission reports. Commissioner Moritas.
Let's see, good morning. I know Commissioner Sorensen is waiting to get the link. Do you think we should?
Yeah, so we've sent it to him, we've sent it to me and to Zoe, and it has not populated in my inbox. So I'm wondering if we're having a delay and
maybe text it to him, or would that help? No, because they need to log into the computer.
I don't know. Let me ask Mauricio what the plan is.
Let's see. I mean, I can certainly continue. Maybe can join.
So it just came through on mine, and it was captured as an other email as opposed to a email in the inbox. So if anybody's listening that we just sent it to can benefit from that information, let's give Commissioner Sorensen just a minute.
I see him.
There
he is. You got it. All right.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Super. Okay, we are waiting a second to make sure you could log in. So good.
We didn't want you to miss anything. Man.
Didn't want you to miss my conference report.
Exactly.
Thank you. I'm waiting with bated breath. So please, thank you, Commissioner Moritas, for your help on that.
All right, good to see everyone. And Commissioner McKenzie's on here too. I don't see him on my Brady Bunch screen. There he is. There he's coming back. Okay, great. Well, once again, I do want to start by offering my condolences for the FBI agents who lost their lives this morning.
Tonight we were going to have a moment of silence.
A moment of silence, okay. And that was tragic, obviously, for our whole community, their families. And I wanted to shout out and thank our Fort Lauderdale Police Department and the SWAT team for assisting today as well, too, in going to the scene. So thank you all for what you do every day. Makes it hard to go on to other things. but I did want to start with that. Chris, just a vaccine update a little bit. I did see there was a new website, myvaccine.fl.gov. Have you heard anything about that? Do we know if that's what people are using, or are they still going to individualized, Broward Health's website or Department of Health? Because I did share that, and I don't know if we're getting any feedback.
Yeah, so let me give you an update there. Before I do that, let me ask our IT people to manage our IT display and focus on Commissioner Moritas at this point.
Oh, that's okay. You don't need a Brady Bunch. We still focusing on the mayor?
Your hair looks really great today. So
Yes. I fixed the mayor's hair. We're all set.
So there are two sites now to be able to make an appointment for a vaccine. To visit the Lockhart site, it is still browardhealth.org. And to visit Snyder Park, it is the new state's scheduling link that you just gave. I don't have it written down in front of me, but what you gave sounded correct. That would be for a vaccine at Snyder Park.
Okay, excellent. So there are two separate websites still. We don't have a one-stop landing page really that manages all the sites. So people would need to go to two of them.
Correct.
Okay. And that phone number, the one that we've been sharing, does that work the same way? It's certain locations?
It does. We've been sharing that there's 3 different ways now to request a vaccine. One is to make a phone call, one is to send a text, and the other is to visit the link. And so I can have that to be ready to be published at some point during the meeting. We can pop it up on the screen for people to see. But you are correct. It is myvaccine.fl.gov.
Okay, so that's what I share too.
There was something in the paper today. I think the governor announced some additional vaccines have been received by the state, upping our quota, which is really great news.
Okay, good. So thank you. And you may have more updates, but we are all looking forward to getting more vaccines so we can continue that rollout. It does seem like people are in place and ready to go. We just need the vaccines. Let's see. IT, would you mind helping? I'm having fun. I'm sorry. With my slides, I have another slide.
Okay.
Sorry, I want you to see it because we've talked about this a few times now, and I did want to share. I know we've talked, Mayor, about A, pickleball at Lockhart, and then B, we've talked.
Did I ever bring that up?
I think a couple times. I wonder who you're talking to is actually what we're gonna figure this out. The second item you mentioned a few times was a skate park, and I know I said, but I didn't tell you for certainty that there is a skate park. I wanted to show you this. This is the skate park that's across the street from Lockhart Park. And I checked on
the Calvary Chapel.
It is at Calvary. And I don't know if it's necessarily their church. It's on their property, but it is on their property. It's open for anyone can go. It's a $10 drop-in fee. So it does look like a pretty nice facility.
This is great looking.
So
it's huge.
And it's right across from Lockhart. So I know I've said it a few times, but I wanted you all to.
And this is open to the public?
It's open to the public. Looks like it's closed a few days, and it's just a $10 flat drop-in rate. So if you want to go try it on your scooter.
Vice Mayor's been asking.
Why don't you wait till I'm Vice Mayor? And that way we can
challenge the Vice Mayor to a
right.
romp at the skate park.
Wear your helmet, Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I actually go there every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. It's great.
When they're closed, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. That's a good time. So I wanted to show you that. So just rest assured that I think you have great ideas, and this one's already taken care of. So thank you.
What about the pickleball?
Pickleball is, I bet Phil could tell us, we probably have 70 pickleball courts in the city of Fort Lauderdale that people get to enjoy. And
70?
I'm just making that up, actually. I tend to do that. I round things up. Try to be accurate in my reports, but when you catch me off guard like this, I know we have a lot, and we just don't have that one convention, or not convention, but competition.
Okay.
Space. Okay. Which we're not going to have at Lockhart. Couple other things I wanted to go over. I did finally have a good conversation last night about the hot rod cars. They are obviously affecting all of our districts. I know they're mostly on the east, but I am getting concerns or reports about 31st Avenue. So in my area, that's kind of Twin Lakes. With just at my District 1 last night, they said it's kind of routine. It seems like every Saturday and Sunday, late afternoon, they're there. So I didn't know if we had an update from our police about what we are hoping to do. I know it was in the paper and we're looking at it along A1A. So maybe we'll give Chief a minute to log in. I didn't actually give her that.
I know they've done operations these past couple of weekends and have reported on that. I think we might have Chief Sousa dialed in at this point. Chief, are you?
City Manager?
Yes, there you are. Can you give
Hi,
a
how are
quick
you?
update, Commissioner,
Yes.
please?
Good. Thank you,
to
Chief.
Yep. No problem. To address Commissioner Moritas' concern, I have spoken to a couple residents in Twin Lakes. I did assign the motor unit out there the last 2 weeks. I have to get the results of it. And they did indicate the times were late evening hours and on the weekends. We did complete our second action plan along Sunrise, 17th Street and A1A, trying to meet our groups that come in and wreak havoc for our residents and visitors. This is the second time we conducted that in the last 3 weeks, and they didn't show up. But we have issued a total of 202 citations during those two action plans. And we have another one set to go again.
Thank you. And the citations were on the east side of town, A1A, as well as 31st Avenue?
They vary. They vary from Sunrise, 17th Street, A1A, and 31st Ave.
Okay, so they're all over. Okay.
Yeah, but you know, I was having dinner Sunday night on A1A near the Bahia Mar area, and I mean, we were rattled half a dozen times by different people on their motorcycles or cars that completely remove their muffler system. And there's no one out there. There's no enforcement. There's no, I mean, everybody in the restaurant was looking at each other every time one of these vehicles, you know, sped by our, you know, the outdoor dining experience. I mean, it just completely changes the whole feeling, and it makes you say to yourself, why do I want to sit out here? You know, and we're trying to encourage businesses to remain open and to encourage patrons. And, you know, this is not the atmosphere that we should be permitting. So it's not just about big gangs and things like that. Even when I was leaving the restaurant, I was going up A1A, and right before I got to Las Olas, there was a motorcyclist weaving his way through, went right through the red light, and just completely ignored all traffic rules. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that we need to figure something out, because it's not just about, you know, group activities. It's individuals who continue to think that, you know, Fort Lauderdale Beach is a stage for them to, you know, show their prowess on how they can handle their bikes or you know, maneuver their cars up and down our streets. It's just really, it's getting totally out of hand. So anyway, I just want to add to that conversation.
Okay, thank you. And obviously, whatever we can do, you know, I support as well. So thank you, Chief. I'll give that update about the citations.
No problem.
A couple more, let's see, questions. I attended, the Broward League of Cities hosted Superintendent Runcie last week to just give us an update about the school system and COVID-19. And it is kind of sad to report academically, students went from 4% of getting Fs to 11% of our population now are receiving Fs at the Broward County Public Schools. So the encouraging news is he really wants to ramp up our summer program and really make sure we catch students up. I know Zoe's been working on a few initiatives too. I was just wondering if she could possibly give us an update to see or to let us know what we're possibly thinking of in the city of Fort Lauderdale to partner with Broward County Public Schools and help our students. Zoe, are you?
Hi, good afternoon. Zoe Saunders, Chief Education Officer. Thank you, Commissioner Moritas, for giving me an opportunity to provide an update. I've been coordinating with Phil Thornburg in the Parks and Recreation Department, along with Broward County Public Schools, FAU, and some community partners to explore how we can further enrich the academic component of our summer programs. So we have a few opportunities that we are exploring. FAU is interested in partnering with the city of Fort Lauderdale by having interns in their effective teaching practices course over the summer, providing academic enrichment one-on-one tutoring along with small group instruction to students in our program. Right now, it looks like we would have 40 interns that could support this effort. And we're still really further exploring the logistics of that and the number of hours that these students would be able to provide support. We're looking at possibly having this at 2 locations in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and we're partnering with Broward County Public Schools to really explore where it makes the most sense to house these programs, whether that be in a park location or a school location. As you know, we have a pretty robust joint use agreement with the Broward County Public Schools. Currently, their program, they are final day program. So partnership with the city for those students that could participate in our program could also benefit from the after school enrichment piece, which our parks team has done a marvelous job of, and really had an opportunity to pilot this type of approach through the supervised e-learning program that's been operating this year during COVID. Additionally, I've had some conversations with the Museum of Discovery and Science, and they just launched a new STEM mobile. And so with that, we could schedule opportunities for that STEM mobile to go to various camps across the city on a scheduled basis and do really interactive hands-on learning experiences. And also with that, they could train some of our counselors to do subsequent experiments and so forth throughout the summer. So those are a few of the opportunities we're exploring to partner. I think there's a lot of synergy as we're looking at these different collaborating entities in our city to enrich the academic experience for our students.
Super. Thank you, Zoe, for that update. And thank you, Phil, also for everything you're doing and have been doing this past year at our community centers to help our students who are struggling and who need the help. So I appreciate it. And thank you for that update.
Commissioner Ben.
Yes.
Could I ask Zoe a kind of follow-up question on that?
Sure.
Hey, Zoe. Thanks for all your work. It reminded me of our work with the Education Advisory Board. You don't have to answer this now or can get back to us, but I was just interested in the 3 kind of initiatives we were working on and partnering the park space or the area outside the schools, the early learning. I think the 3rd was the kind of looking at the adjustment or kind of the learning evaluation. Anyway, how are those going?
Certainly, I'd be happy to share a quick update, and also we could have any sort of follow-up if you want more detail on it. With regards to the joint use parks, we actually will be really formally launching that or commemorating that arrangement on Friday. This coming Friday, we are going to have a ribbon cutting at Bennett Elementary School Park, which is one of the newest joint use parks to come online and now is open to the community. It's a beautiful facility. So we will be recognizing that effort. And we also, as part of the public input process of the Parks Bond, those school sites that are currently active joint use, meaning they're open to the community after hours, are part of the virtual open houses. And then the 9 additional sites that we've identified will be having individual planning sessions the month of March that will include the school community and surrounding neighborhoods. That's a culmination of a year-long planning effort through a joint use working group that involved membership from the city of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County Public Schools, and our principals. We developed a scoring rubric to really prioritize those projects that created a win-win for the school and the community. And those sites tend to be located in areas where there isn't real estate available to purchase, and they have been park deserts. So it certainly creates a new amenity in the neighborhoods towards our goal of a 10-minute walk campaign where every resident can get to a recreational space within a 10-minute walk. So we're very excited about that. It's been a really collaborative process, and we've identified some really great sites and some opportunities to really benefit the community through that project. As it relates to early learning, we did submit a letter of support to expand the Head Start program, with Fort Lauderdale being a key location. We're also looking at a couple other grant opportunities that would allow us to further extend early learning opportunities and also to create really a bridge between the daycare centers and to kindergarten, to really supporting students to being kindergarten ready. So there's a lot of collaboration with the school district on that front to really looking at projects that can be grant funded within the city in support of that effort. As it relates to the academic metrics and working with our Education Advisory Board, really taking a focus on equity and understanding how we can measure equitable learning outcomes across our city so that we see high performance and equitable outcomes regardless of a family's income or zip code. And so there's a number of strategies we are looking at along with metrics to measure that in ways that we think really are representative of the learning that's occurring in those schools. And that effort is actually joined by a number of different organizations across our city and county that are interested in coming together to really achieve collective impact. So that includes a number of youth serving organizations and other partners that are really working to form a collaborative in support of learning outcomes for our youth in our city.
Great. That sounds good. Thank you for that update. Could you give us like just like an email, little half-page summary or something of maybe just those three and with a list of like the joint use, possibilities and what we're already doing and what we're exploring, just so we kind of have that top of mind?
Absolutely. Yes, I'd be happy to.
No, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
you.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Zoe.
Commissioner, do you mind if I also ask Zoe a question? I apologize. Is that okay? While she's with us? Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi, how are you today?
Excellent. How are you today?
Great. Thanks, Vice Mayor.
You got it. And again, thank you for all of your work that's been ongoing. I look forward to seeing you Friday at Bennett Elementary. And I had a question about that. It came up at my pre-agenda meeting last evening. And people love the idea of the shared uses with the school board. Someone brought up, excuse me?
The first doc permit on Cordova since
Andrew Cuba, not muted, Vice Mayor.
The first application for a doc permit.
Who?
Andrew Cuba. He's.
Oh, Andrew, mute yourself. Anyway, thank you. So one of the pickleball enthusiasts at our meeting said that the tennis courts at Sunrise Middle have not been used in years. So maybe if you could add that to your list of a possibility of pickleball at Sunrise Middle, I think that would be a really popular decision. But first, obviously, we would have to find out if that's really true. I don't know why it wouldn't be that those tennis courts have just been abandoned for so long. So maybe we can just add that to the list. And that's all for me, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share that when we did the site reviews at all of the schools, we did contemplate opportunities to repurpose some tennis courts into pickleball courts. And I know that Phil Thornburg's also been in contact with that school, particularly around the use of those courts. So there's some conversations underway.
Great. Thank you.
Well, it was such a pleasure to join you this afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Zoe. And I do want to shout out to Chris too. Zoe and I were on a call with the state of Florida talking about some items. And finally, the person said, we are the only city that they are aware of to have a chief education officer. And they're really kind of impressed with all the work the city's doing to partner with our local schools, our local colleges to really, impact our area and our residents and our young learners. So Chris, I'll certainly submit your idea to the National League of Cities or whatever awards come up. I think that was pretty innovative that you came up with this position, listening to some of our concerns around the area of education. And I believe Zoe has really done a lot in this area to just to help our residents. So I think it's innovative. I don't know if it's done in any other city in our state. I don't know if in our country. So I don't know if you dreamed it up or you read it somewhere, but thank you for coming up with our chief.
It's actually my idea.
Was your idea? Oh.
A lot of that too is the person that's in it.
No, I agree.
They make it either something or nothing. And so we've certainly got the right person.
We definitely got the right person. But I think, like I said, we kept talking about all these ideas and we could have hired a consultant like we do so many times. But you really thought that this position would add a lot of value that we didn't even really understand at the time. And she just continues to keep adding more value just through conversations and ideas. So thank you both. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm almost done. Let's see. I did have a grand opening. Nothing Bunt Cakes opened in District 1.
Where is that?
Hope you stop by near Dick's Sporting Good.
Oh, and that shopping center.
Yeah, nothing but cake. So the next,
That shopping center is really starting to blossom.
it definitely has blossomed. A few of my favorite stores are there, Whole Foods and Lululemon. So yes, very, very good. Please stop by. Chris, I know we received an unsolicited proposal again for 5 Ash. I know we had one or a few initially, and now we have another one. So is this just a whole new process? The other ones are done, and now we analyze this. Do we vote to set,
So that is correct. It is a brand new process. And I can't really talk specifically about the project itself, but what I can tell you is happening at this point is our finance director with a financial advisor working through a financial review of it, and we're looking through it operationally. When it's ready to come forward to the commission, if we believe it's a qualifying project, it'll come forward then to the commission for action. But I want to know a little bit more about it before we bring it and talk to the commission. When we talk about it initially, it will be in a shade meeting.
Okay.
And there was a number of days that was attached to that acceptance of the proposal. Do we know approximately when that expires? That would be the when you would bring it to the commission.
That's correct. Yeah.
Do we have any idea when that might be?
Off the top of my head, it's 60 days from now. We've got a little bit of time to do it.
About a month and a half. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And I guess why I'm thinking of unsolicited proposals, are we making any traction with the One Stop? I know the time is up, so we only have one proposal. Is it going anywhere? Have we heard anything about it? No?
We have not. I've heard no one's contacted my office regarding it, and I still don't know further than what the initial proposal was, the conceptual process, the conceptual concept that was provided. I've had no other materials provided or any more details.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. So they presented an unsolicited proposal, correct?
They correct, but it was very conceptual and didn't have a whole lot of, again, it was a concept. This is what we want to do, but we need a lot more details than that. And we're going to need a comprehensive agreement. And there's a lot of details missing. And
well, should we make that then a conference item so that we can discuss it and give them an opportunity to maybe flesh out their proposal and just come in and talk about it? I mean,
no, because it's all protected at this point.
I thought after the, wait a minute.
It
has to be, it has to, at some
will,
point.
it does at some point, but we're not even past, even though we passed a resolution, I still can't affirmatively tell you that it's a qualified project at this point.
Right, but
I don't have enough details.
Days that we attached to that proposal, and hasn't that time period expired?
It has.
And isn't that when it's now is allowed to be revealed?
There's another calculation, but technically yes. But I would be more comfortable before we start. We need internally, we need more details to know what project this is before we can even talk to you about it.
All right. So is there a meeting been set up then to?
No, they again,
well, do they know they have to talk to you? I'll tell you right now,
it's an unsolicited proposal. It's not for us to go chasing them.
No. I understand that, but at the same time, they probably think that they've done everything they're supposed to do, and
no, they don't.
Time period is expired.
They don't, because they're out trying to do community outreach, which concerns me a little bit because give us a concept. And that concept can't change a whole lot. So I don't know what the community outreach is, whether it's a representation of what they're going to do, which is on their own. They're really not supposed to speak about it, or they're trying to modify their project as to what the community wants. That's not an unsolicited proposal.
And I can go a little bit further and tell you that I know for certainty, with certainty, that they know that the ball is in their court. And I do have a meeting later this week, which that topic will.
You do?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I mean, I just want to be fair with all these applicants who come to us. I don't want it just to be lingering out there, because we do need to proceed on that site. I mean, it just sits there right now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just my last question. I have received, I'm sure we all have, a lot of emails about the Sailboat Bend Historical District. I'm just curious where we are in that process. I know we discussed it probably 2 weeks ago. I kind of forget what are the next steps with that? What do I need to do?
Let me scan the names here and see who is attending on behalf of
Should I forward them to
Sustainable
Commissioner?
Development. Anthony, are you on the meeting?
Hey,
Or
Chris.
whoever's
Chris
standing
here.
in for Anthony is Chris Cooper.
Hi, Commissioner Chris Cooper, Deputy Director, DSD. So we had a kind of a question and answer item last night with the Historic Preservation Board on the code amendments to the Subo Bend district. Next steps are bringing that back to the HPB for a recommendation and a vote, and then on to PZB and eventually the City Commission. So that's the track that we're currently on.
Okay, so next will be the Historical Preservation Board. They'll give us their input and then work probably with the district commissioner as well, and then bring it back to us for our final vote.
Absolutely,
I'm
and
sure
we have a
getting-
meeting with the board of Sailboat Bend tomorrow evening.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for explaining that. So I'll just hold tight until it comes back to us. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Is that it? Okay, great. Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. Chris, are you still here? I'd like to just follow up a little bit on that conversation you just had with Commissioner Moritas.
Yes, I am here, Vice Mayor.
Because, thank you. Good to see you. Because many of the items that HPB has recommended have then gone on to planning and zoning and been approved by planning and zoning before that comes to us. Is there anything else in that mix that you just talked about that has to first go to planning and zoning after HPB and before us?
Yes, Vice Mayor, that's correct. I'm sorry. Maybe I cut out when I mentioned that or failed to mention that. But it is in the ULDR, so it would go to planning and zoning prior to coming to the commission.
Right. I just wanted to make sure Commissioner Moritas was aware of that it's not just HPB to us. It's also planning and zoning. And just want to remind everyone that these ordinance changes have been ongoing for what, Chris, about 3 years now?
Yes, between some of the incentives that we've worked on with you as well as these ordinance amendments. Yep.
Right. And I too also have meetings scheduled. I'm sorry.
Vice Mayor, can you hold on a second? The sound is not good here. I can't, it's breaking up. It's soft. I'm only hearing every other word. Is it just my monitor or is anyone else experiencing that?
Online, it seems fine to me.
Here, but we'll have.
In the chamber, right?
Maybe they're source microphones that are not.
Can we
I
turn
think
that
you're
up
right.
at all?
Chris's microphone seems a little muffled.
Chris, can you speak into your microphone a little bit better?
I can. I'll call in as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we turned up the speaker some. So yeah, that is a little bit better here in the room. And let's see if Chris Cooper comes through better when he dials in.
Okay, Chris.
It looks like he's dialing in right now.
Okay, is this better? I'm on the phone.
Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me now?
Much better.
Great. So yes, to answer the Vice Mayor's question, we're going to PZB between HPB and the Commission, and we have been working on this as well as some other incentives and amendments to the Historic Preservation Code for about the last 2 to 3 years.
Yes, thank you. And that's important because this isn't just happening now out of the blue, out of nowhere. This has been a process that's been ongoing for quite a while. Also, I just wanted the commission to know that I also have several meetings scheduled with folks from Sailboat Bend, meetings with folks that feel a lot of different ways about, the ordinances. It is interesting to note, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a good discussion at HPB last night about trying to separate out the misinformation that's going on out there. That seemed to be a very prevalent discussion last night where we need to separate the myth from the reality, and we can't just listen to these blanket statements that everything is more restrictive and making it so bad for the neighborhood when in fact, as the HPB discussed last night, most of the changes over the last 3 years have been to assist the district, and very little, if any, could be considered restrictive. But we're going to flesh all that out. Commissioner, I'm also trying to work with staff to set up a working group of different voices in Sailboat Bend. And I'm also working to do a charrette where we can really bring folks together with an impartial moderator, no one from the city, and really just dig into some of these details so everyone is on the same page. But all of this is happening in real time. Chris, thanks. Are we good?
No.
What's wrong?
No,
Mayor?
we're not. We're having some technical issues here in the chambers that I'm not sure what we're doing to remedy. So give us just a minute and
Okay.
let us fix what's going on here in the room, and then we'll continue. Okay, so let's try this again. Chris Cooper, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, did you have anything else to add in response to the Vice Mayor?
No, I did not. That was a great summary by the Vice Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, Vice Mayor, are you satisfied that you got your question answered?
I don't even think I had a question. I was just following up on Commissioner Moritis. I was
sure.
following up on Commissioner Moritis' question.
Okay.
All right.
Please proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. I too wanted to echo the sentiments expressed by Commissioner Moritis about the tragedy in Sunrise today. Absolutely awful. And our thoughts and prayers are with everyone that was involved in that. Just terrible. It's been a busy couple of weeks. It was a pleasure to join the Central City Alliance meeting on Monday, January 25th. Tuesday, January 26th was the South Middle River Civic Association meeting. On Thursday, the 28th, Commissioner Sorensen and I kept moving with the Las Olas Mobility Working Group. And again, just as a reminder that we'll come to our conference meeting on February 16th with a follow-up for the nighttime meeting, hopefully in March. Also that day, I joined the Central Beach Alliance meeting, always lively, always a good group, large group that are very, very much involved and in tune to what's happening in the city. I wanted to thank staff, Chris, and everyone involved in the priorities and the goal setting workshop from this past Friday. I thought that was very smooth, and I thought that went really well. So thank you to everyone who had something to do with putting all of that together and then very capturing the sentiment of the commission on that. So thank you. Congratulations to the Bear Family Early Childhood Learning Center, which had a ribbon cutting at Temple Bat Yam this past Sunday. Another great facility, educational facility, early childhood learning, great for the city. Coming up Wednesday, tomorrow, Victoria Park Civic Association meeting. As I mentioned earlier, on Friday morning, we will have the Bennett Elementary playground ribbon cutting with that shared use. Tuesday, I'll be attending the International Swimming Hall of Fame board meeting. Thursday, February 11th will be the Las Olas Mobility Working Group's last meeting to see exactly what it is that Corradino will be presenting in its recommendation to the commission. Just a couple of comments, Chris, that came up at my District 2 pre-agenda meeting last evening. There was some concern about the logistics of ingress and egress in Holiday Park now that people are seeing the fencing going up for the work by the Panthers on War Memorial. Maybe if we could do something very concise that would let people know what's happening, the construction schedule, what will be affected, will the pickleball and the hockey be closed during that construction? Just so people have a heads up and they're not surprised, because they're all asking questions now about the logistics of where are the trucks going to be coming in, all of the construction, what's going to be the best routes for those using the park. So maybe if we can get ahead of that so it's not where people are just freaking out later on, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay.
Also, thank you. Also, it was mentioned last evening that on the new parks website, they did not see in Holiday Park the actual footprint and what's going to be happening with the 2 sheets of ice and the renovations to War Memorial. They also didn't see any item that we're dealing with the parking garage that was that's under consideration now as well. and maybe even a few years down the line, the YMCA. So maybe if we could take a look at that parks website for the new parks bond and see if maybe we can just make sure that all those things are cleared up. Lastly, Chris, I'm sorry?
Presentation. We'll bring that up when we have the presentation from AECOM here in just a couple minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And lastly, I've been getting some feedback. And Chris, maybe if you could just take a minute or two and give some clarity with regards to the interim chief of police situation and what's changing and why and how is that happening. And there've been a lot of questions. I know there was an article in the newspaper today and other discussion, but would you be able to take just a minute or two and put that all into perspective for everybody?
I absolutely can. So we embarked upon a national search several months ago that worked its way through to a conclusion that did not result in a sufficient number of candidates to name finalists and to bring it to the next phase. So what I elected to do was terminate that selection process, begin again, and as recent as today, we have a contract with a search firm that's going to move forward on our behalf that has been used by several other large cities in their police chief placement. While we do that, so that the playing field is level for all the people that want to apply, I think it's important that we name an interim chief who does not have interest in the permanent placement. And so we'll be doing that as soon as I can locate somebody, either with the assistance of the new search firm or independently. We'll do that, and we'll let this new firm take us through a process that hopefully will result in a sufficient number of candidates at the end that we can name finalists so that we can engage the commission, the department, the community, and then make ultimately a decision as to who becomes our permanent police chief.
Okay, thank you. And then one last follow-up on that with regards to the memorandum we received from John Herbst. Are we actually looking at revising our policy on nepotism?
So we'll take a look at it independent of this particular process. City attorney and I conferred prior to me taking action. We concluded that it was okay to make the action that we did and make the placement that we did. I understand the auditor's points and responded to his letter, which was contained within the letter itself. And we will take a look at it, but it needs to be something that's done independent of any search process. So the short answer to your question is yes, independent of this process.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Chris. That's good for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Commissioner McKenzie. Commissioner McKenzie, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I see him there. He's on mute.
Robert, you need to unmute yourself.
I'm trying.
There.
Technical difficulty. Hey, I don't really have a report, Mayor, but I do want to ask a question.
Wait a minute. I can't hear you.
We can't hear him online either.
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
The connection is just not good. Wait a minute. Commissioner McKenzie, the connection is not good.
Okay, hold on. Let me try this. Okay, there.
It may work better if you try to turn your video on, Commissioner.
Can you hear me?
It would be better maybe to try your video off and see if we can hear you better.
Let's see. What about now?
That's much better.
Okay, well, I don't have a report, but I want to ask a question see if there's an appetite for rearranging the commission conference meeting. I think it was mentioned last conference by Mike Wayman, because a lot of times the public's waiting to speak and we never really finish, at a time specific. And if there's an appetite amongst us and you, Mayor, to see if we wanted to conduct the business first and then go with our conference report afterwards. That completes my report.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Sorensen.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. My heart goes out to the FBI agents and their families too. Chris, is there anything we can do to help support? I know FLPD has been fantastic. Just thinking about the families and the law enforcement members.
Yeah, I mean, we've just been supportive of the agency as much as we possibly can. I know our public safety chaplain was involved at the hospital. I know our police department is in support of the families at the hospital itself, since it's in our city. And our SWAT team went to Sunrise this morning, sent a contingent over to the extent that they were needed. I'm not sure that they were, but we have been and will continue to be as supportive as we possibly can as the FBI works their organization and the families through the tragedy that occurred this morning.
So the alleged victim was also killed too, right?
I believe that's right. I don't know that there's been any determination as to upon whose hands it was, whether or not it was a law enforcement exchange or whether it was a self-inflicted gunshot. They probably wouldn't tell us anyway at this point, but I believe you're correct, Mayor.
Okay. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Chris. And Chris, I'm assuming our chaplain is Chaplain Ron Perkins, who you're referencing.
It is. Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to him about 45 minutes before this meeting, and he had just left the hospital. So that is the correct chaplain.
Right. And I just want to, lift up Chaplain Perkins and the work he does. That's, as a city, we help fund that position. And it's times like these that he does amazing work. And then just the day in and day out of supporting our officers and the staff and the community when you have just the day in, day out stressors that the police face. So I'm grateful for his work, and it's just times like these where it's just especially appreciated. So thank you. Also, and Zoe, I'll connect with you offline on this, but I've been working with school board member Leonardi on Stranahan High School. And Mayor, I just wanted to mention this to the commission that, various schools throughout Broward County, throughout the city, that the Broward County School Board's working on using the school bond to get the schools up to the physical condition that they should be. Stranahan is one of several schools in our community that has been in dire need. And Stranahan's the oldest school. And so school board member Leonardi has been working really well on this, and we've been working with her and then with the members of the neighborhood and so forth. So if you hear about the ongoing work at the cafeteria and other parts of Stranahan, AECOM is the project manager for that, and we've had some good candid conversations. They're really heading in the right direction, and the school board members doing a great job. And Zoe, I forgot to loop you into some of my conversations with that, but I'll connect with you on that. So I'm just really appreciative. And Mayor, and I know you know this because it was before I joined the commission, but leaders like Mary Fertig, Estelle Brennan, and other community leaders really have the drive to make this possible, specifically at Stranahan, and I'm sure many other schools. So I just appreciate those citizens helping make these things possible, and they're coming. Just want to mention that. And
by the way, Commissioner, this is John Herbst. I just want to let you know that I've recently stepped onto the Bond Oversight Committee. I replaced Laura Reese on that. So that's going to be something that I'll be keeping a close eye on going forward.
Oh, that's good to know. I had no idea. I didn't even know Laura was on it. So it's great she was on it, and great you're on it now too. What do you guys, yeah, and Zoe, I'll let you, John, what's the frequency of the school bond oversight committee? Do you meet monthly, or what's that look like?
So I just attended my first meeting, and it looks like they're going to be meeting every couple of months. So, but I'll know more about it as we go forward.
Okay, great.
We just had our first presentation from AECOM though with our status update, just telling us where we are with all the projects around the county.
Oh, good.
So they acknowledge, as you referenced, that we're obviously, as everybody knows, pretty far behind and pretty much over budget, but they are making progress. And to your point, they've done some significant things already at Stranahan. There's some projects left to go, but it is moving along finally.
Mr. Herbst, I wish you were there 5 years ago.
Better late than never, Mayor. Thank you.
Zoe, go ahead. Did you want to comment on that, or anything I've said you want to improve on? Or
Good afternoon, Zoe Saunders, Chief Education Officer. Commissioner Sorensen, just wanted to make you aware that I have been in conversation with School Board Member Sarah Leonardi regarding Stranahan, along with Estelle and Mary Fertig, and understand that there's some questions around the adjusted scope for the cafeteria. So I think in the follow-up, I'd love to be looped in so we can continue to collaborate on that. And our Education Advisory Board has also been reviewing schools that are set for further public input, so we can talk about opportunities there as well.
Great, thanks. And Mayor, again, just for your situational awareness. The Stranahan High School, the original redone cafeteria, the expected seating capacity was around 700, 750 students. At some point during the design period, over the last several years, it's been in design, I think for about 2-3 years, that changed to about 600 seating capacity. Stranahan has about 1,500 students, 2 lunch periods. So if you have 600 seats, then you all of a sudden can't fit half of the students in each period. And that leads to oversight challenges and so forth. So we're working with AECOM, working with School Board Member Leonardi to try to find a way to make that cafeteria the size that can fit half of the student body so that those 2 sites, two periods can work, and we're working with the principal as well. Zoe, I'm sorry.
Commissioner,
go ahead, Mayor.
When I went to high school, my high school had 3,300 students at that time. And we had 3 lunch periods, starting at 11:30 and ending at 1. Somehow we made it work. It was in the basement of a building built in the early 19th century. And I remember sitting on this dais with Commissioner Rogers, regaling over the fact that we still don't have a cafeteria at his alma mater. And here we are years later, and we're still just talking about it. I just don't get it. So Mr. Herbst, you have your responsibility now. You need to get a cafeteria built there, okay?
I will focus on that to the exclusion of all else.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, Commissioner.
No, I love it. It's spot on. And Zoe, this is another, ask again. Sorry, I'm kind of asking you for a bunch, but could you give us or point us to the direction of just like a half page, just a list of City of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County Public Schools that are projected to or part of the school bond rehabilitation investment process? Maybe other people already have great awareness of that, but something like that or just pointing us would be great, so we can say, okay, here are the ones in District 1, 2, 3, 4.
Absolutely, and I can share a link that they recently created at the district that is a helpful tool, and just can share briefly that there are really 2 schools that are still within the design phase. That's Bennett Elementary School and North Fork Elementary School. Stranahan, now with the adjusted scope of that cafeteria, there's more public input around that project. So those are really the 3 that right now are really engaged in public discussion for input around the improvements.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Zoe. That's great. Next up, Chris. Let's see here. The substation off of the EMS substation off of Federal. Can you get us like just a half page, quick summary in terms of where we are, what's next, and projected timeline or going forward, please?
Yeah, I can. I don't know that it's going to take a whole half a page because it's a pretty quick update, but yeah, I can get you.
Or you can give it to us now if you want, whatever.
Yes, we own the land. Obviously, there's a building on the land that will need to be demolished. And then we will need to bring a funding request to the commission to fund the construction of an EMS substation along with sufficient staffing to operate it. So that'll be part of the budget building process. And that's really where we are at this point. The property's owned and under the control of the city. And before we can do much, we would need to demolish the building, design it, this substation, and bring a funding request forward.
Great. So sorry. So the design, are we in the design phase, or we need to budget for that first?
Yeah, there will need to be a budget amendment that kicks that project off, that allows for the design to occur. We'll have to competitively solicit that. And then it will be designed to the point that it can be constructed, and it'll be permitted, constructed, and then we'll bring to the commission a recommendation on how we can staff it. It's important that that's considered as well.
Great. And when are you thinking of bringing a budget amendment forward for that?
It's not going to be probably on the next budget amendment, but I'll look towards March, maybe April. I would say the next 60 to 90 days. I'll either have the budget amendment brought forward. I'll report to you that I think it needs to come at a different time.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay. Thank you. Mayor, just wanted to mention the gate, a lot of discussion around the gate at down at Harbor Inlet, and per our previous discussion, we'll have that discussion at the February 16th commission meeting, Mayor. And I think we would do it at the afternoon meeting, but I just wanted to kind of make sure we're aligned for a timing standpoint or for that.
Yeah, sounds good. We need to do something on that sooner than later.
And great. So Chris, does that make sense? We'll do it at the conference meeting, the 16th. Is that?
Yeah, it'll either be the 16th or it will be the first meeting in March. The reason I say that is the 16th already has several items on the conference meeting, the least of which is the Los Olas Working Group, the mobility report out, which I anticipate will take a good bit of time. So I'll get it on there as ASAP, depending on what other agenda items.
Commissioner, let's do that on the first meeting in March because they're both controversial issues. They're both going to be time consuming. And I want to be able to give the public the opportunity to speak on both of those. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, Mayor, I'm good with that. That sounds good. So the first meeting in March, conference agenda, right? That's what we're saying.
That's right. Correct.
Okay, perfect. And Mayor, and obviously Chris and I talked extensively about this. And so for right now and going forward, we talked about the increase of patrols and law enforcement presence there to help mitigate some of what's been going on. And then also, Mayor, I asked some of the community leaders in that area to try to give me a list of kind of what specifically has happened and when. So I think they're working on that. So I thought that'd be helpful. So we understand the specifics of what's going on. Chris, I don't know if from a law enforcement standpoint, if we can have kind of a record of what's happened in that area over the last, 2 or 3 months.
I can ask the police department to, through our crime analysis unit, to put something together that would show police activity there over the past 90 days. We can do that.
I think that'd be helpful, just so we're seeing, the data and can use that as part of the analysis. That would be great. And I believe, let me just check. I think that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Commissioner. I just have a couple things. As you all know, we were able to open a new vaccine site at Snyder Park. And this now continues to make Fort Lauderdale as the place for 2 vaccination sites. I feel very blessed that we've been able to work with the Department of Health and the Governor's Department of Emergency Management to be able to make this happen. I understand the process is going very smoothly, both locations. The only thing we're missing, of course, is a sufficient number of vaccines, but everyone's still trying to work on that. But anyway, I appreciate Chris, your office and your staff in making that happen. Also, the Vice Mayor mentioned the grand opening of the Bear Preschool Early Learning Center at Temple Bat Yam. So really wonderful occasion last Sunday when we were able to do that ribbon cutting. There will be there was a soft opening, but there'll be a grand opening this February 9th, ribbon cutting at the new Hotel Marin on Fort Lauderdale Beach. I think it's 550 South Atlantic Avenue. Is it Atlantic Avenue or Atlantic Boulevard? What is A1A called, Vice Mayor?
Well, I've seen it called Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard.
Is it Fort Lauderdale Beach Boulevard at that point?
It could very well be.
Yeah.
I like to just say A1A.
A1A, okay. So that's exciting. Another new hotel happening on our beach. I was there Sunday night. It's really a very nice hotel. A nice compliment to the hotels that we have already on the beach. It's a Hilton Zero, I think, brand. Anyway, we're also having a ribbon cutting in District 1 at Dunkin' Donuts, 4840 North Federal Highway on February 10th. And then another grand opening, the official grand opening at the Hyatt Centric here at 100 Los Olas. That's on February 11th. Also this month, we begin Black History Month, and that will be all month long. We have recognition venues at several locations. They can be found in the Sun Sentinel. I noticed that they are printing that every few days. So please take note. It's an important time of our community's history going forward and recognizing the accomplishments of people within the African American and Caribbean community. A couple things I want to bring up. Let's talk about spring break. The press has already been approaching us. What are our plans? Several of the mayors along the coast have already contacted me. Do we need to have a discussion at the commission? Do you want me to work things out with the city manager? What do you think is best going forward? Obviously, you know, the governor has opened up our beaches, opened up our bars, our restaurants. We could take more restrictive measures, I believe, but does anyone have any thoughts on that, or do you want to defer to the city manager?
I do know my daughter's in college right now, and the colleges have canceled spring break themselves.
Colleges are not encouraging that.
They shut it down. They don't have a week off. So they went.
Have a week off?
No, and I've heard that from private schools around the country, and she's at University of Florida. So the public schools in Florida are shut down. They went back a week later, and they're graduating at the same time. So I don't think they're having their own spring break.
Okay, so we shouldn't
But that's just-
anticipate crowds then.
That's just my anecdotal.
Right. We've got that same anecdotal information. We're planning as though it's a spring break like any other spring break in Fort Lauderdale so that we're not caught off guard.
There will still be crowds.
Yes, we have heard that too. That
Well, Commissioner Sorensen and I will be out there. That's for sure.
Exactly. Supervising. We'll be there in purely supervisory role.
Yes, of course.
in any event,
Chaperone.
it's likely to be busier out there than it would be at any other point in the year. So, you know, even if it's not a true spring break in the sense of what we're used to seeing, it'll still be a busy time at the beach. So
So we'll work out some plan to make sure that we have enough public safety personnel out there and
correct.
monitoring, you know, every block and making sure that, okay.
We've done all the declarations already that would suggest that we have affirmed that no tents, no alcohol, all the things.
All the same. Yeah.
In previous years, that's already been done. And so we're just, we're preparing as though it's a normal spring break for us. And then if it's less than that, we'll just be pleasantly surprised.
Okay, great. Also, as you probably have read, there's exciting opportunities that still that are coming before us with regard to the tunnel concept that we've talked about for the FEC railroad track. It's now accelerating much more quickly than it has in the past, and we have set up a meeting with the executives of the boring company to meet them both at their a tunnel that they've just completed in Las Vegas and their testing site and headquarters in I think it's San Bernardino, California, and also in LA. So I just want to let you know that the city manager, myself, I believe County Commissioner Mike Udine, but maybe not, and perhaps one other person from the city, from the community, will be coming together and visiting those sites, talking with executives. FEC will also be participating. They're going to bring the head of their construction department on this trip to eyeball the type of work that they do, and to see if we can get that happening here in our city. As we've been told, the cost of this is a fraction of what the state, the FDOT, has proposed. I also heard today that Elon Musk is likely to pay a visit to South Florida in the near future. So we'll probably invite him to our community and we can ask him questions at that point. So I just want to give you a heads up of what we're planning to do. So if you have any questions, you know, just feel free to ask me or Chris going forward, and I'll report back after we've gotten back from that excursion. Let's see. I'll be going to the Bennett Elementary ribbon cutting of the playground. I know the neighbors have been wanting to know when the heck is that going to finally open, because it sits there week after week and no one's been using it. So I'm very happy that we're finally going to be able to open that. So I guess that's it. Anyone have any other questions of me, or anyone have any questions of staff or each other before we proceed with the agenda?
Mayor, I just want to bring up Commissioner McKenzie's if I couldn't quite hear it, but I think he was.
I couldn't quite hear what he was saying, but I
Yeah.
think I understood what he was saying.
What I heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was hearing was, can we have commission reports after the agenda items? So like you hit the agenda items first, then we do commission reports following.
That is correct.
Okay. I'm open to that, but I just wanted to defer mayor and commission, whatever you'd like. I'm good with that, but.
So in other words, go through the whole agenda and then do commission
Yeah,
reports?
I think that makes sense, but.
Yes, so that the public doesn't have to wait for us, to finish. And sometimes we don't get to the CRA. So it was just suggested. I wanted to bring it up to see if there was an appetite.
Well, the thing is, the commission reports are for the public.
I get that, but I think most
making
of
the announcements and all that.
Right.
I mean, we don't want them to turn off after, the agenda. All right, we can talk about that.
I don't think it's a matter of them turning off. It's just that those people that show up for those items, don't have to sit there. So it's not so much that I think the ones who watch are going to watch regardless. That's just my thought.
So far, like today, I've only got one person who signed up for 2 items.
Yeah, we don't have anything controversial today.
What's that, Commissioner?
I said we don't have anything controversial today, so
Oh,
why no one signed up.
we'll see about that. All right, let's move on to the agenda.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just a moment. We have communications. We have one communications from Planning and Zoning. There's a motion made and approved unanimously. To prioritize a new project to be considered for funding through the Florida Department of Transportation Work Program Development Process to study pedestrian bicycle improvements for crossing the New River at either the Andrews Avenue Bridge or the 3rd Avenue Bridge.
Mayor, the communication is fairly straightforward. I can have Ben Rogers very quickly come and address how in fact we're responding to what the communication from the Planning and Zoning Board is. So let me go to Ben Rogers.
I'm here as well, everybody. Happy to speak to it.
Is that Mr. Schechtman?
It's Jay. Yeah, if we need you, Jay, we'll come to you, but it was a pretty straightforward communication. And I think we can tell the commission how we can accomplish what you're asking for. So let's go to Ben Rogers. And then if there's questions, we'll go to Jay or Ben.
Hello, Mr. Rogers.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. Ben Rogers. On the inquiry on the pedestrian accommodations across the bridges, we've reached out to the county. Obviously, they control the bridges. They do have a project coming up for design work for the 3rd Avenue Bridge. And so we've asked them if they can incorporate some of these concerns into their plan. The county is open to that, willing to work with us, and they will be inserting a task to identify, evaluate, and cost estimate improvements for pedestrian and bicycles.
Did you all hear that? Okay. Is that for both Andrews Avenue and 3rd Avenue?
That is just for 3rd Avenue.
What can be done with regard to Andrews? That was part of the communication.
I believe the communication identified either or, but we can work with Jay and progress that idea.
Okay.
Ben, I had one quick question. Is this related to the school board proposing improvements along that path? I remember, was it a year or 2 ago where we were going to do something on one of the bridges and the school board was going to pay for it, or maybe FDOT was, as the school board had identified that road wasn't compatible for students to cross, or the bridge?
Oh, that was when they were thinking of doing a bridge over the river.
Big bridge. I don't know. Is this the same project?
Jay, we can't hear. Jay, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. So this came up in response to that, Commissioner Moritas. If you recall, a few years ago when the school board made the proposal and the city formally rejected it, the city then sent a follow-up letter asking if Florida Department of Transportation would instead consider adapting one of the existing bridges to allow for improved bicycling and pedestrian access across the river. FDOT responded to that and said that they would be happy to do that if we prioritize this initiative with the MPO. That was in September of 2019. So the Planning and Zoning Board had been updated on all that and identified that there is a significant need for improved accessibility for pedestrians and cyclists across the New River. The conditions are very unsafe today, and FDOT had expressed a willingness to pay for that. So what we're asking here is for us to make this a priority with the MPO as part of FDOT's work program so that they can consider it and potentially pay for additional improvements.
Good idea. And hopefully this will be connected somehow to our overall trail throughout the city if we're compiling projects. So thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ben.
So can we make that, can you as a commission now make that a priority with MPO to be considered under the work program with FDOT?
We can engage with the MPO and see if that's a possibility, yes.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Scheckman?
Well, that sounds great. I really hope that we can do that. It was September of 2019 that became, a possibility. It then takes 5 additional years for that process to work itself out. The conditions are very unsafe. There's a heavy development ongoing on the south side of the river, so the crossings are going to increase exponentially. So if we could get that going ASAP, that would be in everyone's best interest.
Okay. Any further questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to business 1, mayor's appointments to the election board to certify the results of the election of the employee's recommended appointee to the civil service board. How are we going to orchestrate this?
So, Mr. Mayor, this is the one I asked at the last meeting be pushed for a meeting because I was having a conflict with it, the way it was written in the charter. So as to not do disservice to it today, I'm going to either let Tarlisha or Jerome give you a quick explanation of what we're asking you to do, and then hopefully the discussion will happen quickly and
Okay.
It will make sense. So am I going to Tarlisha or Jerome? Looks like I'm going to Jerome. Jerome, welcome to the meeting.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Jerome Post, Deputy Director of Human Resources. Article 6 of the city charter provides for a civil service system that includes direction on the process for establishing a civil service board. There's currently 3 members appointed to the board, one by the city commission, for 4-year terms. One is recommended to the commission by the mayor, one is recommended by the city manager, and a third is recommended by a majority of the regular employees employed in the classified service via an election. And the process to hold the election is lengthy. We began it back in November of last year. We're now at a point where the nominating committee is ready to identify 3 candidates for the employees to choose from via an election. And as part of this election, the charter requires the designee of the city manager and 2 commissioners appointed by the mayor to serve as the election board and certify the results of the election to the city commission in writing. With this agenda item, we're asking for the mayor to appoint 2 members of the commission to the election board. And when the election is held, which we believe will be in the next 3 weeks, we'll schedule a day and time for the votes to be counted and for the members of the election board to certify that election by counting the votes or monitoring the election votes and certifying that in writing to the city commission. So that's what we're asking for today.
So how much work is involved for a city commissioner? Is it 1 meeting or is it multiple meetings? What would be involved?
We anticipate it'll be 1 meeting. It's simply to join the city manager's appointee in counting those votes, probably in 1 room, trying to keep socially distanced, of course. But it's just a matter of counting all of the votes and certifying who the winner of that election is. So the work is minimal. There's probably a couple hours of work in 1 afternoon to be done.
Okay, I'm taking nominations from the floor. Don't all raise your hands at once.
I volunteered last time if you needed me to. So if you still want me,
Okay.
I'll do it. If not,
Okay, great.
nominate from the
Commissioner
floor.
McKenzie. Great. We have Commissioner McKenzie has agreed to do it. Anybody else?
I don't want to do it. I agreed to do it.
When is the meeting? When's the next meeting? I
When
heard
is the
one
next meeting?
but when is
We
it?
have not
Probably.
scheduled it yet because we still need to hold the election. But we expect it will be within the next 3 weeks. We need to give the members 7 days to vote on the election.
I'm good.
So-
I'm good. Unless Heather really wants it. I'll yield.
Like night meetings.
All right,
Oh, this won't be
Commissioner
a night-
Moritas.
night meeting. This would be an
During
afternoon.
the day?
Yep, it would be at one
As long
afternoon.
as it's during the day.
Okay, so Commissioner
it.
Moritas and Commissioner McKenzie. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
Mr. City Manager, have you found somebody yet?
Okay.
Thank you very much. I
I
appreciate
have not, but I will make sure that
Hey,
they are
hey,
there by the
Can't wait all day for you. Okay, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Moving on to business 2, the AECom Parks Bond update. We have one person who's asked to speak.
Okay, if you want to let the person speak, that's great, but I'll have Phil do a quick lead in on the presentation, then turn it over to AECom.
Yeah, why don't we have Phil give the introduction, then I'll ask someone, it's Jenny Morahone that was wanting to speak, and I'm not sure if there's anybody else, and if not, then we'll have AECom do their presentation.
Great, thank you.
I see no, somebody else coming up. Is there another person that wants to speak, Jeff? Okay. Mr. Thornburg, how are you this
Good
afternoon?
afternoon. Doing great. Thanks, Mayor. So AECom is on the line. We are right in the middle of our public outreach, which we've been talking about doing for the last few months. And they'll go over, Joe Webb is our program manager. He'll go over how that process is working. You've probably seen either in your water bill, on banners around the town, we're starting on social media, ways to contact and ways to give your input on all the improvements in the parks. There's also a phone number that's attached. If people would rather speak with someone personally, they can call, leave a message, and then AECom will call them back, talk about anything they want to talk about and make sure that they get their comments as well. So whether it's virtually or it's by phone, we just are working very hard to get everyone's input. So hopefully in March, they can really start taking off and getting some shovels in the ground and get the work done. So I'll defer to Joe at this point, and if there's any questions of him or I after the presentation, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I have Jenny Morahone who wanted to speak on this. Jenny, are you on the line? Is she there?
Let me look real quick. Do we see Jenny as an attendee? I do not see her logged in yet, Mayor.
All right, so we can, we'll hold back. I mean, she can always speak after the presentation. And she's also signed up for the next one too, so. Okay, AECom, front and center.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Webb. I'm the Director of Park Planning for AECom. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you pretty well. Good afternoon.
Okay. Good afternoon. And can you see the presentation I'm sharing?
We can see the pretty picture.
Beautiful picture of another beautiful Fort Lauderdale park. On behalf of AECom, we thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, for the opportunity to present kind of an overview of the program and, as Phil mentioned, a kind of introduction to our public engagement. Just very briefly, you know, the purpose of this program overall is really to implement the vision set forth in the 2016 Parks Master Plan, really then affirmed through the vote of the residents through the general obligation bond. So our work is, you know, really building upon that master plan and trying to deliver, you know, real concrete park improvements based on the vision of that plan. Our approach to the project, the city has engaged AECom to work in partnership with city staff to develop this program. We have a large team of people that were assembled to do multiple projects simultaneously, really trying to have an approach that delivers projects quickly, efficiently, but balanced with a good public input in a process that's open, transparent, and inclusive. This is somewhat new in the way cities approach doing some of these park bond projects, but it is kind of the new way of which people are doing it. We're currently doing similar work for Doral, Miami Beach, and the city of Cape Coral. Right now, we're in this beginning part, as Phil mentioned, where per the commitment of the bond and really just to reaffirm some of the findings from 2016, we're in a public engagement period. We're reaching out to people to hear about their priorities and really look at every project that was originally proposed within the Parks Master Plan. We'll subsequently be going into phases of design and construction, with hopefully a completion somewhere in fall 2025 or 2026. A very ambitious schedule, but best case, we'll be moving ahead, as Phil says, quite quickly. The public engagement is really an important part here. I think it's important to be reaching back out to people, and I think the city recognizes and we recognize that 2016 was not that long ago, but much has happened since 2016, and there is the need to reaffirm, reprioritize, again, reach out to the public and hear about, are the projects still valid? Are the priorities still in order? I picture back to 2016 and I would not have imagined what we're doing today. So we really do want to put a full faith effort into a public outreach that is effective. Part of it is that in the time of COVID, we've set up this project website, a central repository, and I'm hoping some of you have visited it. To date, we've had 875 people visit the site with 135 comments so far. It opened yesterday officially. It was really open late last week as kind of a soft opening, but officially opened yesterday, and already a pretty substantial, robust participation. But it integrates with the city's existing public-facing website, so you can easily access it. It's active through the duration of the process, so this will be our main access for public engagement, but we're also going to use the city website to keep people updated on the program progress and planning and design and construction. So it'll be really a live site throughout the life of the program where people can check back, see what the progress is, see what's going on in the city. If they're interested in one particular project, we'll keep all the data up to date. So this has been coupled, as Phil referenced, perhaps some of you have seen banners up across the city. We're making an extensive effort across the city to get people aware of the site, asking people to come to the site, ftlparksprojects.com. So if we take nothing away from this, hopefully everybody remembers that simple name. But also, there's been inserts in every water bill. Actively, we have teams going out tomorrow to start hanging door hangers in select neighborhoods, the banners, of course, and a big social media push to really make everyone aware that this effort's going on. So the website is up. It's active for virtual engagement. It was officially kicked off February 1st and will run throughout the month of February. So through February 28th is our hope for a month long of people's input. Our approach, really in the time of COVID, there's concern of trying to do everything with public meetings. We're doing everything we can to make sure that this is a safe, accessible, efficient engagement process. Yes.
Joe, why is my head cut off?
Where?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just a crop of the picture that was.
No, the next one. There you go.
Well,
Please
sorry.
make the appropriate adjustment.
Mayor, at least he has the sports coat over the shoulder. That's the most important.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry about
Sorry,
that.
Joe.
Yeah, we'll make sure that's correct. It looks like something happened with PowerPoint. Certainly did not want to cut your hat off here in the presentation.
Thank you. I feel better.
The room, I'm trying to catch back to where I was here. The room simulates an in-person through 3D. If any of you have visited it, it's really an attempt to try and make it seem as real as possible. We formatted it completely to be for a computer or a mobile device. And each park, all 90 that are currently in the program, each one has its own room, which is actually a room within that park. So if you look, this is actually Victoria Park. If you're looking out the windows, this is what you'll see if you go to the virtual room. You can scan and scroll around the room, somewhat move around the room, and see how to participate, the background of the program, purpose, a wonderful message from the mayor, and then the park plan and a input portal. So I wanted to speak of the plans. Each park plan is really a diagram that we created that conceptually or programmatically puts forth what was told to us in 2016 as a part of the master plan. So recognizing that things may have changed since then, that isn't to say this is the exact program. This is why we're asking people to come and tell us. But this is what we heard through really an extensive outreach process that was done as part of the master plan. So we did, with the master plan, there was multiple public meetings, there was focus group meetings, stakeholder meetings, a statistically valid survey. So this represents what we heard at that time. So that's still, important information, but doesn't take away from the idea that today it's open to revisiting, reprioritizing, if that makes sense. So I'd heard a question about holiday. We didn't hear as much as I'm hearing now about pickleball in 2016. We are certainly hearing much more about pickleball today. So, one of the things that might be a reconsideration as we move forward. So the public engagement portal, again, is structured so that people can give general comments, or we're asking people to prioritize individual projects so that if it does come that there's more desire than there is money, we'll understand what the priorities of the community are. We're asking people to also give input on if they wish to share their address so that we can see those people that are maybe living in proximity to a neighborhood park as opposed to those people that might be a long ways away from the park, and really use this as our initial tool to help prioritize or inform our decisions about design. We understand that it might be, this may not be the answer for everything, the end all, that as we get done with this aspect of public outreach, there may be the need for some further outreach or select outreach in other areas where there's the need for more discussion. But it's one way to try and reach a lot of the community in one effort, and in a safe way that I think people can participate without feeling, concerned about their health in a closed meeting. Again, opportunity to leave contact information so that we can follow up with putting information back out to those who leave their information. And then once we have received all this input, we'll post it back to the public website so that everyone can see the same thing we're seeing as to what the proposals are. We see what they say and their neighbors say, and they can also see. So trying to, again, make the process as open and transparent as we can. So Once we've received all of that information, it's our duty as AECOM to put forth at least a proposal for consideration of prioritizing the projects or establishing phases. We know the work can't all 90 parks can't be done at the same time. So we're looking at ways to really prioritize or develop those in phases. As I mentioned, we have a multi-tiered team, so we can do many projects at once. But our priorities will be really first starting with the 4, or what is now the 3 signature projects. Tunnel Top Park is currently being developed by FDOT, but Holiday Park, Carter Park, and Lockhart Park are identified by the commission as signature projects. So we understand those are priority. We're also going to look at the community consensus. Is there a clear understanding? Has everyone in the neighborhood agreed what the program is and therefore move ahead? We also want to put an effort into making sure that the projects are equitably distributed along the city, so that we're not working at all projects in just one area, but really trying to make an active effort that we're working in multiple different areas across the city at the same time. Potential grants, we have a team working to identify any opportunities that might be for grants or leveraging the bond funds. I think everybody likes the idea that can we get more with the money that the city has, already put forward. That is a great position to be in. Many times the grants are difficult because they're a 50-50 match, and you currently sit with the potential to match those grants. So we're trying to find every opportunity where maybe we can leverage the city's money. And finally, of course, professionally, efficiency for design, bidding, and construction. And then I think there's a desire to balance some of the design intensive projects with not leaving the maybe simpler projects till 5 years from now, but really also doing some of the quick wins and some of the simpler projects in small neighborhood playground replacements, etc., that could be done parallel to some of the bigger projects, so that we get a whole variety of different projects done simultaneously. So as we've been working on this, Phil and his team have been working on land acquisition. I believe there's 3 current, unless something has changed since last week, that have been acquired. But there is $30 million within the bond that has been allotted for land acquisition. That's been set at $7.5 million per district, really targeting areas and properties in service area gaps. We speak of the 10-minute walk. This map that was developed as a part of the master plan shows the purple are parts of the city that are within a 10-minute walk of a park, and the gap areas, so the gray areas represent areas where there are not. Typically, we try and target areas that are in these gap areas so that everyone can access a park within a reasonable walking distance of their home. So there's certainly, I've seen the full list. There's multiple properties under consideration. Some of those advance to full purchase, some advance partway and then stall. So I think that'll be an ongoing effort over the next several years. So again, back to our schedule, we're hoping for a robust public engagement period here. We've made several this presentation across the city. We're hoping that people really buy into participating in the process. That helps us inform the remainder of the process, but we would like to hope that we can begin design and construction beginning in early 2021. So this spring. So that's kind of my quick overview version. If there certainly are questions or comments, we would love to have your input.
Mayor, I've got one.
Sure. Wait, before we begin that, is Jenny Morahone, is she now available? Jenny?
Hi, Mayor, Commissioners. I actually signed up for B3, so I'll pause.
Okay, not B2. Okay, very good. Okay. Yes, Commissioner Moritas, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make? Okay, so who raised their hand first?
Go ahead, Mayor. It's Ben. I had a question, but go ahead.
Commissioner Sorensen, go ahead.
Okay. Joe, this is a question for you and maybe for Chris as well. From neighbors are asking, as we continue to look for possible properties to purchase for new park space, what's the best place or way for neighbors to make suggestions for possible park sites?
So this is Chris. I'll take a stab at that. I mean, now that we're receiving information about the Parks Bond through the assortment of ways that we're receiving that information, that's a great avenue to bring it forward. We obviously work with we'll hear from next Colliers to explore land purchases as well. So, but now that we have this one-stop place to collect information, that's a great spot to let it land.
Okay, great. So Joe, there's a place to do that, or?
I think, and I'll defer to Phil if he's still available, but I think, Phil, we're directing any direct suggestions to you. Is that true?
So there's multiple ways, but I would recommend, as the city manager mentioned, there is on the web portal, there is an area to give your comments for the general overall bond. So you could do it there if you have specifics, or you can call my office and I'll do it as well. So whatever works best, but you could definitely leave it on the general comments of the website.
Great, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. First of all, Joe, I think this is a great website. I love all the different features of it. So, thank you for all of that. I have actually been getting some feedback with regards to the phase that we're in now, the public engagement phase. And folks are saying, when we were trying to convince people to vote for the bond, there just seemed to be so much more direct engagement. And by that, I mean, maybe with the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations, maybe with individual neighborhood association meetings that are always meeting consistently, maybe even district pre-agenda meetings, things like that, where people can actually have a little bit more face-to-face, even though not in person, but on Zoom, that kind of engagement. And I would encourage you to maybe think of just stepping that piece up a little bit so that it's not just, the onus of folks to go to a website or make a phone call, but let's go to them. Let's go to their neighborhood association meetings. Let's go to Riverwalk. Let's go to DDA. Let's go to other organizations that have a stake in this. Let's go to as many neighborhood associations as possible. That's my comment with regards to public engagement.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great comment. We have presented to the civic associations, Council of Civic Associations, and the Riverwalk and downtown business groups. I think after the public engagement, if we've identified that there's more, because we know that there's other neighborhoods that may wish direct contact, and I believe we're open to that once we hear, kind of the general input. So nothing's precluded there.
Thank you. I just think it's really important to step it up. I've actually tried to, when I meet with the neighborhood associations in District 2, we've been soliciting for months now ideas for land acquisition, and we've been acting on it with Colliers. That's been working out well. And we try to engage them as much as possible. So we'll keep pushing. We have already in email blasts and newsletters. We've pushed them to go to this website, and we'll continue that. But if you have the time and the resources, I think it would be great to actually take a little time and meet with the neighborhood associations directly that are meeting in February and March. That would be my recommendation. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, just to follow up with Vice Mayor. Yes, I do agree with that. And we did discuss this at my pre-agenda meeting last night as well. And I know AECOM is going to come to my district meeting in March. So I do think it's a good idea for AECOM to at least go to the district meetings, because we should invite all of the civic association presidents in our district to that meeting just to get that one final round of input. So that is a good idea. And yes, thank you. I know I've been working with Colliers and Phil, also with all my civic association presidents to identify land that we can purchase. So thank you for everything y'all are doing.
Any other questions or comments? I just want to say thank you for taking on this task. This next round of spending money to enhance and improve our open spaces in the city of Fort Lauderdale are really what is going to make our city shine even more than it does. Everyone appreciates open space as we continue to urbanize our community, and to the extent that we can improve upon the existing parks that we have and find new open space is really going to be a tremendous asset to the city, making our city a much more livable, enjoyable environment going forward. So thank you so much, and I really hope the community continues to become engaged, and because this is your city, these are your parks, this is your money, so let's work together and really try to get the best out of it. Thank you so much. Business 3, this is Fort Lauderdale Urban Core presentation.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll just do a quick lead into this, and it won't be long because I'm going to hand it over. This is a report from Colliers, and I think I've seen Ken Krasnow on the meeting. There's a presentation that coincides with this that we'll need to queue up. And Ken, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can. Yep, we sure can. Do you have? Is our IT department prepared?
I'm going to share my
slides. Or are you
screen.
going to share?
Just
Okay, go for it.
Ken, what's that beautiful city that's in your background?
I'm with the vice mayor. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chris, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Ken Krasnow with Colliers International. I believe we have forwarded this presentation to you in advance, so I'm gonna run through it fairly quickly. It's kind of a state of the market as we usually do at the beginning of the year. So very quickly, sorry, let me just going to run through the market, and then we're going to touch on some of the opportunities specifically here in the downtown area. So as obviously, I don't have to belabor this point, but we've endured a series of disrupting and crises that have affected our real estate market dramatically here. Obviously, we're all dealing, with COVID, but all of the fallout economically, civically, the social unrest, the disruption in our supply chain, getting, refrigerators or so on and so forth. It's all had a dramatic effect on our real estate market, which we're going to walk through in a few minutes here. Specifically, a couple of areas. Obviously, we're all aware of how much e-commerce and the demand for e-commerce has changed our way of life. I'm going to get into that a little bit more in the retail section. An area that we'll talk a little bit more with regards to the office market. We're obviously all doing a lot of the Zoom presentations, but this kind of dispersed workforce is something that I think is a trend that's taking shape. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then obviously, the retail adaptation. Again, you've heard this terminology on a number of these Zoom, presentations. What COVID has done is it's really been the great accelerator. So a lot of trends that had been in process, pre-COVID have just been dramatically, accelerated, during the COVID process, and none more specifically, than in the retail market. So, ghost kitchens, buying online, picking up in store, outdoor dining, et cetera, has dramatically affected the retail market. So where are we? The two main drivers that we look and we, obsessively pay attention to, population growth and employment growth. Obviously, it's been stunted here over the last year, lack of movement. And obviously, the disruption that we've had in our, tourism and retail and some of the key economic drivers in our market. That being said, the forecast and the trend, once we get through COVID and we get through some of the dynamics in our market, are exceedingly strong. And we'll touch upon that a little bit later on. But population growth and job growth, both are forecasted to be even stronger than they were over the last 5 years. So it's something we all need to kind of get ready for. I'm going to touch briefly on each of the little kind of the main food groups here: multifamily, office, and retail. These are kind of our year-end numbers so that you can see here, again, in spite of all of the disruptions in the market, multifamily has continued to be a strong performer. As you can see there, we've had strong rent growth over the last 5 years. We are, however, predicting a slight decline as we look into 2021, as a number of these new units have been delivered, and some of the fallout from the economic hardships, start to take shape as some of the stimulus and everything, kind of wears off. And again, if there's any questions that anybody has, you guys know me, you can feel free to stop me at any time. A couple of the big trends, though, that I do think I wanted to just bring to your attention. I talked about, population growth, and, we have all seen the migration from some of the Northeast states and so on and so forth over the years. But what has really dramatically picked up over the last 3 or 4 months has been West Coast, Texas, Colorado, California. We've seen a tremendous amount of influx from areas that historically we haven't seen, in addition to some of the Midwest. So that's why I mentioned before, we think the population growth, as strong as it has been over the last couple of years, is going to be even stronger. Some of these other trends are sort of big picture trends. Affordability, we think there's a lot more focus. People have understood the need for more affordable and workforce housing, and we think that it's gained a lot more acceptance within the communities, and we think there's going to be an even stronger push to deliver more affordable and workforce housing as we go forward. As I mentioned before, we do think there's going to be a slight decline in the market next year as occupancy rates fall, rental rates fall slightly, but again, that's kind of a short-term trend. On the office market really has been kind of stuck in neutral in 2020. As you can see there, there's been really, really strong rent growth, but net absorption, new space being leased has basically grown to a stop. Vacancy rates have gone up. As you see, we've had a dramatic increase in vacancy, again, primarily because of the dramatic increase in rental rate growth. That being said, so the trends that we're seeing are, there is going to be kind of a great divide in the office market as more and more companies look to disperse their workforce. We think that we are very well poised to capture a lot of these relocations as this, you've heard this terminology, this hub and spoke model takes place. So you've seen a number of companies that have got massive presences in the New Yorks, the Chicagos, the LAs, start to look at a dispersed workforce, because the reality is more of their workforce is working from home and is working in areas that are not in their headquartered offices. The other trend that is people are moving into environments that are safe, that are clean, that are efficient. And so there's going to be a kind of a flight to quality, and a lot of the smaller B and C office products that, where you walk in, you feel like you have a cramped elevator, or the space just doesn't seem clean. Those are the offices that are going to suffer. So there's some big picture trends that we think Fort Lauderdale is really well poised to capture as we go forward. And then lastly, on the retail market, as you can see, the retail market, in spite of the kind of the apocalyptic news that you all read about with all the bankruptcies and store closings and so on and so forth, the market has held up, fairly well. Vacancy rates are still below 10%. There, again, a lot of it has been driven by, strong, population growth. That being said, there is a lot of these big picture trends in the works, which we think is going to have a dramatic effect as we look, forward here into the Fort Lauderdale market. Again, these are trends that I'm sure you've heard about before, but omni-channel is a trend that everybody, or is a term that everybody's been talking about, for years. But there's really kind of a seamless trend now between retail. Buying online and walking into a store has got to be a complete, kind of seamless experience. You're also starting to see a lot of these stores adapt to more of these micro fulfillment centers where, you're basically going there to just pick something up or get it as a kind of, or just look at it and use some kind of virtual reality, but you're really not actually buying, anything there. And you're seeing a number of stores move to this completely, delivery only concept, ghost kitchens, et cetera. So a lot of these retail trends are going to have a dramatic effect in terms of how our market evolves and what kind of space and what kind of locations, work for some of these new retail trends.
Sorry, this is Ben. Did you say ghost kitchens?
Yeah, that's like just pure delivery. So, you're going to have big, almost like warehouses where there's going to be multiple restaurants in there that are operating as just pure delivery models. So
one other question.
There's a lot of people, and you're seeing the delivery model changing. People are sending you more, meal kits, and the restaurants have really evolved to the delivery model. It's become, an integral part of their business. They had to adapt, but now they're, they've really incorporated it, as they go forward. But that's a very different kind of dynamic than a typical restaurant on the beach or, in a downtown that's got the ambiance and the experience and so on and so forth. And then lastly, we're in a real strong downward trend in the hospitality sector. We think we've kind of leveled off and kind of hit bottom. We're pretty much at 50% occupancy now. Rates have kind of stabilized. And again, hopefully, knock on wood, as vaccines and everything kind of take shape, we start to see the return of strong, leisure travel. The thing that's going to be slowest to recover, and why the market is really not forecasting an uptick in hospitality for till pretty much 2023 or 2024 is business travel, large scale group travel. That stuff is really going to take much longer to come back. And then the thing that I put in here as well is financing for renovations of hotels or building of hotels or so on and so forth is significantly challenged, in the foreseeable future. So when we were looking at this, kind of a year ago, we were clearly in the midst of a lot of kind of recessionary, factors that were working against us. Right now, the things that I think we all need to kind of pay attention to is, and you guys are doing a great job of getting control, of this virus. I think as more and more people feel comfortable, safe, so on and so forth, it helps kind of get us back to normal. I talked about the in-migration. The fact that it's coming from multiple regions is really encouraging for us. It's not just a Northeast migration. We obviously still got to be laser focused in helping our neighbors that are working and that are so severely impacted in the tourism and the hospitality market, because that's going to be a long slog. It's going to take a while to get back to normal there. I talked about the retail market. Again, as many as you're starting to see new store closures and so on and so forth. A lot of the e-commerce companies are moving into the brick and mortar. So as many as that doesn't get the same headlines as the closings, but as many that are closing, you're seeing a number of new openings. And then what's equally, if not more important for all of us is we're not just seeing population and people moving, but we're seeing real business relocations. There are probably a dozen active, new to market, all over the South Florida region that are looking to bring real jobs and real employment to our region. Again, a lot of this is a dynamic of the fact that every employee doesn't have to be in New York paying, $150 a square foot, or in Boston or in LA. And a lot of their employees want to live here, want to work here, even though they're going to be working from a kind of a satellite office. That's that hub and spoke model that I talked about. We're really starting to see that take shape. And we think that that's got, a real impact on our market. The one thing I do, and I know the mayor's been all over this, but as more and more people and as more and more companies come down here, we can't lose sight of the fact of our infrastructure. You've done an unbelievable job in terms of water and sewer and everything else like that, but transportation, education, Commissioner Moritas talked about the position that you've got with the city education. All of those things are really important factors as people and companies look to make decisions about where to locate. So that's got to be something that's really brought out to bear. And then last but not least, all of these kind of changes that we've been living through with COVID are going to have lasting impacts in our market. People have understood and really kind of embraced the value of open space. We just heard with AECOM, and I know we've talked with all of you about, parks and open space, that supporting local businesses. People have really understood the need and the benefit of supporting local businesses. That's not going away. Equitable, inclusive communities. I talked about affordable housing. People really do understand that they need to be in environments and communities that take a very active and proactive approach towards affordable and inclusive communities. Resiliency, sea level change, so on and so forth are critically important issues that I know you guys are tackling. But all of these are trends in the works pre-COVID, have really come to the forefront and been kind of crystallized during COVID. And as we kind of move into a post-COVID environment, these are trends that are going to stay with us for the foreseeable future. And I think we all need to be prepared for it because it has an effect on our real estate market, but our overall market. One thing that I did want to just kind of touch on a little bit, and I know it's a discussion that we've had over the years, but it's now really kind of coming into view. Is what I'm showing you here now is government-controlled real estate in the downtown, area. And I know the joint government campus is really kind of what I think is going to be the domino for a number of other pieces here that are going to take shape. Very rarely do you see an urban core like Fort Lauderdale, where the government has got as so much influence in how the city is going to evolve. And then obviously, again, the joint government campus, is the kind of the big domino. But then what happens with, the county building? We've talked about, City Hall, you've got, One Stop, you've got all kinds of, transformative developments taking place that you control. And, I know we had this discussion when it came up with, with Riverwalk, but as you kind of step out and you see all of the opportunities that, the government has got direct control over, it's a really, really exciting time to think about how you're going to change and transform the city, because you are in control of it. Normally you have to do it it's through zoning or through density or so on and so forth. These are your assets. I say you, the county, some state, you've got, your new, federal courthouse. So it's an unbelievably exciting time. And then if you look at all of the, these are all new recent activities, all of these developments that the private sector, has been, for the most part, building hotels, so on and so forth. You layer that on with all of the government around it, and it's just a unbelievable opportunity that you are kind of sitting in the driver's seat for. So it's something that I do think, I know we've spent some time, talking about, but the fact of your control, as you look at some of these, unbelievable sites that, that you control, is a really exciting time. And then just last but not least, I know we touched upon this with regards to Riverwalk, and there was some concern about, tying up an asset for a long period of time. It's something that I do think is worth, spending some time, kind of going over, primarily because, you are, under an obligation with, the office building here that uses this for parking. Their lease goes through 2047. That being said, when you look at what can be done with this asset and what, where we were going kind of down that road, this shows, retail on the ground. It shows converting the outside to apartments for affordable workforce housing, and, turning the facade, which I think everybody understands right now is not a necessarily an attractive asset, into something that could really look and be completely, transformative. But again, this is your asset. So it's something where, again, I wanted to, highlight all of the opportunities that you as a commission are sitting on, where you're going to really be able to transform, the look and the feel of the urban core. So that's the quick overview of the market. Happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, I do have a question for Ken.
Go ahead.
Thank you. And Ken, as always, thank you very much for this presentation. I always enjoy your updates and the education and the trends, and it puts things into a really nice perspective for us. So thank you for that. I want to go back to your page 8, which actually carries through to page 12. And maybe you can help me understand the discrepancy. When our Department of Sustainable Development puts out the Downtown Regional Activity Center Development Projects Update. So we have one for December 2020. We have one for January 2021. And if I look at your page 8 under overall multifamily market indicators, the inventory, and then down below under construction, those numbers are just so different than our DSD charts and numbers. One comparison, under construction, you have 1801, and our January says under construction 4,450. Our December says under construction 5,135 residential units. So I'm wondering why the difference there. And then up above on inventory, the numbers again are just so different in terms of our Department of Sustainable Development breaks it into categories that says in review, approved, under construction, and then completed since 1989. Can you help me understand what makes your numbers so much lower than what we have from our staff?
Yes, I've got our research department with us here because I know we have had this discussion in the past. A couple of big picture perspectives. Sometimes you, the city, may be tracking a project that is under construction, when in fact it's actually been, now delivered, and so it moves. Sometimes there's a discrepancy in terms of when it moves from, one category to another. Another discrepancy there is we primarily track multifamily complexes of 25 units and above, whereas you rightfully so track everything. So you have a 6-unit, a 4-unit, so that has some discrepancy with regards to the inventory. But we actually, we work very closely with Anthony and Ella and her team. We're actually meeting next week to work on a collaborative so that we can work on a better system of syncing our timing when one project moves from one category to another, and making sure that all of the descriptors are consistent.
Yeah, and I think that would behoove us all to have that kind of consistency, because, and I hear what you're saying, but when you say that the inventory is 10,388 multifamily units, 10,000, and we see on these charts from our staff completed since 1989 over 20,000, and then when we see under construction 1801 on your chart, and we are seeing numbers between 4,450 and 5,135, it's hard to believe that the difference is just little 2, 4, and 6 unit buildings. I don't even think there are that many of them in the downtown regional activity center. So I just think that it would be easier for us all to understand.
No, I mean, but like there's one example, like the you're familiar with the what's it called? Ex Fosolis, right? So that is still under construction, right?
Phase 2 is still under construction. Phase 1 delivered. So, but the city is still counting the whole project is under construction.
Under construction. We've moved it into out of that category. That's a big
right.
project.
But then even if you did that, your inventory number should still not be only half.
No. I'm just saying, but that's just one example.
Right.
One question that we are meeting with Ella and Chris and the team next week to make sure that we're synced more directly.
Okay, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
You got it.
One question to touch on that, Ken. If I was looking at your deck, one is great, and thank you. You categorize it as central business district. That's what your numbers fall under, right?
Right.
So is the central business district synonymous with downtown regional activity center? Downtown Regional Activity Center has a certain geographic boundary. I don't know if that's the same as what you categorize.
It's not quite the same, because what we do is if you look at these, we're using this to compare your downtown to downtown Miami and downtown, and downtown West Palm. So it's not specifically every boundary per the regional activity center. So again, that's one thing we'll work with Ellen and her team to make sure that our definition of the downtown fits with how it syncs up with,
because both of these numbers actually could be correct. You're just the
numbers are correct. There just is a slight discrepancy in kind of like numerator, denominator, like how we're, what we're counting and kind of where we're counting it to a certain degree.
You're using different geographic boundaries. The city's using one, you're using another. So I think, and it doesn't mean either definition is wrong. They both could be very helpful
Yeah, but we want just to avoid people being confused, we'll get on the same page and make sure that our definitions are consistent.
Yeah, perfect.
Any other questions? Any other questions of Ken? All right, I have Jenny Morhone that has signed up to speak. Jenny, are you there?
She's been recognized. She just has to unmute. There we go.
Jenny, you have to
Just
unmute.
received the unmute.
Great.
notice.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Please.
Just wanted to recognize that it's really great to see the attention given to the urban core and these kind of discussions by all of you, our elected officials and city administration. And the partnership with Colliers, I think, is wonderful as well. We've been engaging with Ken and his team as well for years and with your city staff. So I think there is just a tremendous opportunity here. And when you look at this map and you look at all the public owned land, I think it's important to keep in mind that 20 years ago, when we looked at the downtown master plan, we were focused on private development. And now we can really come together and kind of chart the course for the next 20 years of what happens with these sites. So I just wanted to advise that, you know, the DDA is really focused in on kind of 3 key areas: national marketing strategy to continue to attract investment and these corporate relocations. And we've already had some initial meetings with city representatives to really kick that off, focusing in on parks investments. And we just heard, you know, the bonds. Also, Huizinga Plaza will be kind of our focus with that. So we look forward to working with you, the city, on this. It ties in nicely with opportunities at the Riverwalk Center garage and the public owned land around there. And then really kind of visualizing downtown of the future. We think that there's just a great opportunity to also kind of showcase what this downtown can look like in another 20 years. And so just on behalf of my board, you know, having these continued conversations, being part of any workshops like this that you have, just wanted to, you know, thank you for the attention in the urban core, because it is such an important piece. We're the center of the South Florida region. And so, you know, embracing the innovation, the forward thinking, it's a great day for downtown, and glad to be part of this dialogue. Thanks.
All right, great. Thank you, Jenny.
And could
Anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Mayor, could I just ask one other question to Ken?
Who's that? Commissioner Sorensen? Yes.
Thanks. So Ken, just high level, when you look, let's just look at, and you know, cover this, but just kind of bottom line takeaway. When we look at residential, in residential units in the, let's just call it CBD for the, in CBD.
Central business.
Yeah, in the CBD. What's coming online and what's in the pipeline? Are we matching demand? Are we above demand, below demand? Just give me, what do you think, bottom line?
I think there's a short term where you're probably delivering more than demand, just because of the amount of units that have been in the pipeline that are now delivering and that will be delivering. And again, you're still in a kind of a limited movement environment, you know, COVID and so on and so forth. So a lot of people aren't moving as much as, you know, as they are. So that's why we do think but it's relatively short term in nature. We think, you know, maybe it's a couple of quarters as we go through, you know, 2021. But as movement starts to free up, and as a lot of this kind of in-migration from all of these areas that I mentioned before, you know, we think that demand will ultimately, you know, take over and be, you know, sort of in equilibrium with the amount of supply that's going to be delivered.
Great. And the same for office space. Just give me the bottom line there again.
If the trends continue the way we're, you know, kind of projecting and what we're seeing now, we're probably under supplied in terms of, and again, I talked to the kind of office that, you know, when you saw the news of, you know, Blackstone moving to, you know, to Miami or so on and so forth, those kind of companies, you know, the big financial services, the big tech companies, the big media companies, you know, they're gravitating towards new, true Class A, you know, office space. And that's an area that, you know, we probably need to continue to look creatively. And again, I think a lot of the areas that were, that are on your map and that we're thinking about now are potential opportunities to fill some of that, need.
Okay, thank you. That helps. And then this is maybe a question to Chris and to Ken, but I'd never seen that drawing of the Riverwalk garage there with the affordable housing kind of built around it or so forth. What's, Chris, maybe where are we in that discussion, or what's next in that, just considering what would be there?
I don't know that we've had a discussion beyond the fact that we chose not to move forward with the prior project that was proposed there. We probably should schedule that for a discussion so that we can hear the commission articulate what their vision is for that area. I'm not sure, Ken, where did that image come from? Was that, I know there's been multiple different.
It's a proposed development. So that was not part of the solicitation. But people are still very intrigued with that asset. And so, we think there's an opportunity there. But as I mentioned, you're limited in terms of some of your options because of obligations that are already in place. You've got, significant, Chris or Ben can talk about, you've got capital that needs to be invested into that, into that facility. So it's certainly a discussion worth having again.
Great, thanks, Ken.
So,
Chris,
Commissioner, just response to your direct question, I haven't seen that image before, so I didn't really make that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I hadn't seen it. So, Chris,
Commissioner, can I just speak to that point? You may have, and I don't know who all you have been meeting with, but I have been meeting with some folks that have, once we decided not to go forward with the 55-year lease with the Stiles Corporation, County Commissioner Dale Holness brought to City Hall some folks that see that site as a potential site for building a World Trade Center. And we're talking about a large building there, which they feel that site would be perfectly suitable for bringing international trade offices there. I think they're looking at like a 35, 40-story building, all offices. And so that's why, as we look, going forward, keep those things in mind. If we have a job opportunity such as a World Trade Center coming to our downtown, I personally think we should keep our eyes open and our minds open to the possibility of allowing something like that site to be transformed into a business center such as that. So I realize that people have come forward and said, let's put a affordable housing project there, but I'm not sure that the value of the real estate justifies affordable housing right there. I think that it's much too valuable to sacrifice in order to get affordable housing. There are other sites that are less expensive that we could put affordable housing. And so these are the kinds of conversations that we need to have going forward as we try to reshape our downtown.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I bring it up, because I think it needs to be we need to have a discussion about it.
Exactly.
More possibilities. So, at some point, and maybe Chris, it's like March, April, May timeframe, but I think it'd be good to just kind of share some ideas and hear what we're hearing and so forth about that site.
Agreed.
Very good.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
You've got, as you see, there are others too as well. So, I mean, I think it's a big picture. It's a big picture discussion.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think all ideas are good ideas for this to look at and consider. And Mayor, that's great. That's a great possibility right there that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the commission?
I do. One last comment. Ken, I love this beautiful map and inventory of our downtown. I'm sure you have one of uptown too, right?
Yes.
All the possibilities. I'm thinking I have all sorts of images in my mind of what we're doing up there now.
Yes.
Well, how much government land?
It's probably not really government, but I do see, we have 64 acres.
Saying we have Lockhart, yeah.
And we have, parcels A, B, C, D. We've got a lot of stuff going on up there.
We do it.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
And you can probably just scroll that map up. Can you scroll the map up and point out uptown?
Yeah, I don't know if we. No, we were just, because the presentation was downtown versus downtown Miami versus downtown Fort Lauderdale. So that's, this map really is kind of concentrated here in the downtown.
Next time.
But yes, to Commissioner's point.
Cannot forget Uptown.
Yes,
Get Uptown.
Uptown.
We're gonna surprise you. We're going to be really surprised in a
Well,
few
it's
years.
funny, in the early 80s, I know it's before many of your time, but in the early 80s when I moved here, Cypress Creek Road was the hot ticket where, I mean, because the way the tax laws work, businesses, banks were allowing businesses to invest in new construction there. So there was a building boom going on Cypress Creek Road. And then the tax laws changed and all of a sudden it stopped. So I remember people were renting space there for practically nothing just to be able to fill those buildings. But so that's why that all got developed with the Radis Center and all those other buildings with Citrix's now and all that. But it will come back.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Any other
already
questions or
back.
comments? All right. Thanks, Ken, so much. We really appreciate you staying on top of this issue and these trends. You know, it's really important for us as we try to make decisions going forward and seeing what the landscape is. I mean, you can't really predict, as we've now learned from this past year, you know, what our future is. I mean, we certainly did try to, we've had a similar presentation by you a year and a half ago, pre-COVID, and now we're dealing with a COVID environment with all the migration that we're now experiencing from other locations around the country and around the world. So, so if you can predict 2021, you're doing pretty good. So, but anyway, let's hope that the vaccine has a permanent place in our communities and that people want to once again come out and congregate and visit our entertainment venues such as the Broward Center, our movie theaters, Parker Playhouse. Once we complete that, maybe have a ribbon cutting this year there, and all the other opportunities we have, our sporting venues. I think Americans and certainly people in Fort Lauderdale are trying to get back to some level of normalcy. So we only pray that the vaccine will be available to many more and will work effectively against the spread of this virus. Okay, so that's Mr. City Manager. Do you have a report?
I do have a couple today, Mr. Mayor, so I'm glad we're a little ahead on time. Excuse me, let me, while I clear that frog out of my throat, let me reorder the number here and ask Rachel Williams to join the meeting. And, excuse me. And we got some good news out of CDBG today as it relates to CARES funds. So I want to share what that is and what that means to the city. Rachel, can you give a quick report?
Yes. Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and other city staff. We've been waiting on these funds for a while. We were notified of the availability of these funds back in, I want to say, October of last year. The city, as a team, we worked feverishly. We submitted the paperwork to get these fundings coming into our jurisdiction. Unfortunately, HUD had staff turnover, so we kind of had to stay on top of it daily, weekly, in order to finally today, they sent over the grant agreement, which Chris signed, and we have already returned it to HUD. We're expecting this 1.6 million to come in. And if you remember some time ago on a commission agenda, we had conducted the annual action plan, an amendment to the annual action plan, where we said we'd utilize these funding for housing reentry and rental assistance to support families impacted by COVID. A lot has changed since we were notified of the availability of these funding to today, when it has finally gotten to us in the form of a contract. And I just want to take a few minutes to remind you of what was approved in that annual action plan, just to make sure that you're still in support of what we had amended. Back in November, we had proposed that we would use these funding, $500,000 for housing reentry and support services, $700,000 for rental assistance and support services, and activity delivery cost of $112,000 and administrative cost of $328,000. And I just wanted to make sure that as a commission, we were still, or you're still wanting to move forward in this fashion. Am I able to share my screen so that I can bring that cam up so that you can have a visual?
I think what we should do there, Rachel, is we should just send some, we'll do a commission memo and send it to the commission. It was more important today. I just wanted to let them know that we
Yes.
received additional funding. We've been waiting for a long time. And so not every email comes with value, but occasionally you get one. And today I got one that came with a value of 1.6 million. So that's a good email to get for our city and the good that we
Well,
can
Rachel,
now-
you earned your keep today.
Thank you. We all did, because everybody had to push hard and fast on this one to make sure that we got the funds in a fairly timely fashion. So thank you for your support, and thank Chris and the senior management team for their support always.
Great work.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
The next report I have also deals with a grant opportunity that we've made it at least into round 2. So we applied for a Department of Economic Opportunity grant that would deal with $10 million worth of stormwater work. And typically you put those applications in and you wait for a while and see if it goes anywhere. We made it to the site visit phase, which is a pretty pivotal moment that they actually came to Fort Lauderdale. They were here this morning. We had breakfast and lunch with them, and in between a tour of the community. This would be for stormwater work in both the Durs and Dorsey Riverbend neighborhood. So we should know sometime later in the spring, but $10 million of impact to those two neighborhoods and stormwater work would be tremendous. So
Did you also receive another grant with regard to stormwater?
well, we have the opportunity to apply for WIFIA loans. So that just comes, it's a little bit different than a grant, but it causes us to pay less money to do more work. And that's always a good thing.
Great.
Want to report to you as well that last week we received notice, and I'm not shocked at all that our finance department is being recognized again for transparency and fiscal reporting by GFOA. So that's a good thing to report. President's Day, we talked about that at our last meeting. I think there's consensus built amongst the commission. I could not get it done this year fast enough that we could actually call it President's Day. I would just have to declare a holiday. But in order to do that, I would also have to accompany that with a budget amendment for the cost of declaring that holiday, which is just over $300,000. My recommendation to you is that if we want to recognize President's Day, we build that into the budget that we're preparing moving into October, and we start doing that next year and actually call it President's Day. But I want to make sure that the commission's satisfied.
Is that good? Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great.
Okay. And the last thing I have just for today, and we can talk about it individually or collectively, the city attorney and I visited this morning the restaurant that opened up recently that we've all seen what appeared to be a flurry of emails come in on the restaurant Salt. We met with one of their attorneys and a couple of their staff members. We'll work with them as opposed to working against them, I think is the right place to be, to make sure that there's some harmony between the neighbors that live over there in the restaurant. I think it's I had a good discussion this morning and felt very.
It's already a new restaurant that just opened?
This was the one that you opened, that you went to like the Thursday of last week, the Salt 7 restaurant?
Yes. Oh, because of the noise issue.
Correct. Yeah. We met out there in person today and listened to the noise and stood in different places. And I think that I left feeling that we would have an opportunity to work with them as opposed to looking like it was the contentious relationship that it was starting out. I think.
Well, the thing is, as a restaurant, it seemed pretty innocuous, but when it evolved into a nightclub environment, that's where I think it kind of went the wrong way. Okay.
So I just want to report that we had a good meeting out there this morning, and
okay.
We will hope to make them successful as well as keep peace in the neighborhood. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for today.
We received a letter back from the county with regard to that CARES Act money. It's now going to be restored.
That is correct.
Okay. It was at $44,000
$44,000
for our enforcement efforts
in December. Yep.
I just want everybody to know that the county had decided to withhold some funds because they didn't feel we were doing enough to comply with their curfew orders over the holiday, and was going to hold back some of the money that we were spending on enforcement, even though they recognize the city of Fort Lauderdale as being one of the leaders in enforcement during the month of December. So I wrote a letter expressing my displeasure over that, and they have now responded saying that they will go ahead and reimburse us for those funds. I just want everybody to know that.
Mayor, one other.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just one other thing. If we could get Ben Rogers to come up and just give us comments on the Cordova Road project that we've been discussing for a while, and kind of basically the termination of that and the other possibilities we can explore.
Well, I saw some pictures while he's walking up here. I saw some pictures recently of the seawall. They look like they did a great job.
Yeah, the seawall's really looking good.
Amazing.
Yep. And they're still going to work on landscaping and resurfacing the road and so forth. But then
So
Ben,
what particular question did you then with regard to Cordova Road then?
Yep. So it's actually the Cordova Road south of the seawall. So I just wanted Ben to, we decided to terminate that project. And so just wanted Ben to give us all an update.
Oh, you're talking about near 17th Street.
17th Street. Yep. Those couple blocks. I just wanted everyone to be aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, Commissioner Sorensen. Staff is going to attend a couple association meetings in the near future to understand what some of the residents and the businesses are looking for. Staff has a few ideas that we'll share, but really we're at the point where we need to get their feedback and kind of direction on what a smaller project looks like. We do have about $125,000 allocated to the project, and so it's just figuring out how to use those funds.
Yep, great. And you sent I think Chris sent me the letter, but we sent a letter to FDOT, and I think MPO saying, thank you, but we would like not to move forward with your proposed project, right, Ben?
Yeah, that's correct. We sent the official notice, I believe, earlier or at the end of last week.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
You're welcome. I just want everybody to know that I got a text while we were meeting from Alan Zeman saying that the tour this Friday at Bennett has been postponed to the following week because the timing would cause us to be on campus while there were kids there. And I guess there's a policy that no guests are permitted on campus while kids are there. So it'll probably be postponed till February 11th at 4 p.m. For all those who are planning to attend, I just want to make that announcement. Okay, any further business of the commission at this conference meeting? Okay, there being none, that meeting is concluded. Can we now go into the CRA meeting? And Mr. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Moritas, Vice Chair Glassman,
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Here.
Commissioner Sorensen,
here,
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and let's jump to that agenda. Just a moment. All right, M1, motion to approve minutes for the December 2nd, 2020 and December 15th, 2020 CRA board meetings. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Move.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie,
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and the minutes are approved. M2, motion approving the change order number 3, authorizing additional design services for the Las Olas Boulevard Corridor Improvement Project. I believe that's with regard to the garage. Is that correct, Mr. City Manager?
That is correct. It's for the garage in the park. It deals with storage at the garage and sun shading at the park and the top of
the upper deck.
Correct.
Do I hear a
May I-
motion to approve?
I have a question,
question?
Mayor. Yes, do you want the motion first or the questions first?
Why don't you make the motion first?
Okay, so moved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Okay, discussion.
Thank you. Chris, this came up at my pre-agenda meeting last evening. Do we know what kind of structures we're actually talking about in terms of the roof on the garage? There was some concern from folks that originally they thought that the garage would be one height and then it seemed to be more, and they were just concerned, would that be adding a lot of height, or is that going to be something that's only going to be used for events? Is it a permanent structure? Do we know any of that yet? If you can just elaborate, that'd be great.
So I'll do the best I can, which is with the information I have at this point. It's been described to be sun shades like the sails that connect between two posts so that it provides shading much like it would over a a little bit artistically over a playground or something along those lines. I can get you a better answer than that, but that's about the best I have. Let me check on the meeting and see if there's anybody here whose name I recognize who might have better information than that. Clarence, are you on, and would you happen to know?
We have representatives from the Beach CRA here. Would you like to?
Oh, I don't have to even look at my computer. They're here. Let's. I see Tom in the room. So Tom, I
Would
think
you like
you're
to come up
probably
to the podium and give
the
us
best.
a little education on what is planned for that part of the garage? It's been so long since we've seen Tom. I forgot what he looks like.
It's been a while. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, everybody. Appreciate your time. My name is Tom Green. I'm one of the project managers for the Beach CRA. So what the city manager alluded to is correct. We're looking at some type of tensile structure, canvas, taut canvas up on the 5th level, as well as in the Oceanside Park. Can you hear me a little bit better now? Okay. So kind of what Chris alluded to is what we're trying to pursue right now, be some type of either fixed or movable shade structure on the 5th. Nothing that really impacts the height, nothing that really takes away from the view, because that's really what I think is important on the 5th level is the view.
Any other questions,
Tom,
Vice?
Actually, Tom, did you say you didn't know yet whether it would be a fixed structure or just used when we have events or activities?
So we're trying to engage with EDSA to kind of work through ultimately what that's going to be. They do become expensive, so we want to be cost conscious on what direction we take with the design. There are cheaper options, which is a sale, and once you get to a more fixed structure, then the dollar price point for that goes up. So I think we get into what it looks like as we work through the design with EDSA, but the idea is some type of shade tensile structure, kind of similar to what you do see at a park.
Okay, and what are we thinking about in terms of the storage on that level?
So what we'd be looking at is something on the north side of the parking garage below the landscape planter area is an opportunity to put in a fixed storage structure that does not impact or is minimal impact to parking on the 5th level. So it'd be some type of CMU block wall, roll up, roll down door, roof, and just minimal lighting inside for storage of material. We're also exploring whether or not we can accomplish that underneath the bridge and just avoid the cost of doing storage on the roof itself. So that's something else we're looking at.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, you're
thanks,
welcome.
Mayor. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions with regard to this item? Okay, there being none, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Chair
Yes.
Glassman? Chair Trentels?
Yes, and M2 is approved. M3, motion approving funding increase of $15,000 to Creative Lawn Maintenance, LLC, pursuant to an agreement for lawn and property maintenance. Do they use leaf blowers?
This is actually more haul
Yeah.
away of items as opposed to.
A lot of illegal dumping.
All right.
We get a lot of complaints, Mayor, about illegal dumping there, a lot.
I know. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen? Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman?
Yes.
Chair Trentels?
Yes, and the item is approved. M4, this is a motion approving a $50,000 commercial facade program and a $225,000 property and business improvement program loan to Nullhart Holdings, LLC, Nullhart Holdings 2, LLC, for the Abbey located at 441 Northeast 3rd Avenue, and authorizing the executive director to execute any and all related instruments and delegating authority to the executive director to take certain actions. Let me just say this, the place is looking beautiful. I've never seen the church look that nice since I moved here. And Ite, I don't know if you're on the line, but thank you for all the work that you're doing with regard to that.
I'm here, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Would someone like to move the item?
Mayor, I'd love to move it, but I also have a comment as well. Thank you.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Okay, Vice Mayor?
Yes, I wanted to echo that comment that you made, Mayor, for Itai, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the project coming along. But I also wanted to thank David and Vanessa Cardacci for basically, they do a great job taking historic structures, older structures, mid-century modern structures. When you look at what they did with the whole Enchilada gas station on Federal Highway, Rhythm and Vine, Rock Sands, and now the Lutheran Church, the former, actually original St. Anthony's Catholic Church that the commission designated historic. This is a great example of repurposing a historic structure. It is such a win-win, and I just wanted to say thank you to these people for not just keeping our history, but then also showing people that you can keep the history and still serve a purpose for modern times. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor.
Okay, any further questions or comments with regard to this motion? There being none, please call the roll.
Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas,
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman,
Yes.
Chair Trentels.
Yes, and the motion is approved. Now we move on to R1. This is a resolution approving a funding increase for the CRA residential facade and landscaping program for the Home Beautiful Park and Doers Communities in the amount of $300,000.
Question, Mayor?
Do you have any? Yes, sir.
Yes. Is Clarence on the line, or Chris? Is someone there that could answer?
Clarence is here in the room. We'll have him come to the podium.
Great, thank you.
Is this just a fund for which people can apply, Clarence?
Yes.
This isn't designated to any specific project.
No.
Fund.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Clarence, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm good, Vice Mayor.
Excellent.
Mayor and
Thank you.
the rest of the commissioners.
Just a couple of questions. Is it possible to get a list of how many of these types of grants? I know the original grants were up to $7,500, and now we're looking at $5,000 to lowering that. But how many of these have we actually granted to? How many owners? How many properties?
In anticipation of that question, last year we granted 37 for a total of $216,325. And this year thus far, it's been a total of 9 for $53,245.
Okay, and 9 this year. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you. I think you were going to say something else, or no?
He finished.
Okay.
Yes.
And how's it going? You're very pleased with the project, and it's really making a difference?
It's making a tremendous difference. Before we had this item already printed, but on yesterday we got an email from one of the homeowners there, just extolling all of the virtues of this program and how wonderful it is. We started it because we were building single family homes in the Sweeting Estate area. And the idea was to, along with the new houses that we were building, to start to spruce up the facades and the landscaping of the other properties. And it has made such a big difference. The reason why we're increasing this fund is because there's been so many people asking for us to continue the program. And now we're looking to go to the other 2 communities, Doers and Home Beautiful, which we've gotten so many people waiting on a waiting list now. We're anxious to go ahead and get started with hitting those other neighborhoods.
That's great.
And
thank you.
By the way, it also
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. You go ahead.
It also coincides with the release of the 55 properties that we bought from the city. We put that out for bid. We had 20 contractors to respond to that solicitation. We actually have 43 properties out, not the whole 55. And now we're going to be doing the same thing. We'll be building infill lots in those two communities. And this will go right along with helping to beautify the neighborhood as we build those infill lots that we purchased from the city.
Now, that's excellent. Thank you. I had just one last question under the program guidelines in the CAM. There have been some changes in terms of the originally envisioned program in terms of implementation. I want to just know how that's working out, how we're monitoring, specifically the fact that we used to obtain the bids, but now it's up to the homeowners to secure the 3 bids on their own. And then CRA is reviewing and selecting the best contractor, and then a liability agreement. Basically, how are the changes in the implementation of the program working out, in your opinion?
It's better. It facilitates the process in a much better way, allowing for the homeowners to go out and get those 3 bids. We still review them. We still basically hold their hands, but it gives them more flexibility. But then it also provides us with the ability to be able to have a larger pool of small businesses that can participate in the program.
Okay, that makes sense. And is it working out all right now that just CRA staff is involved with the administration instead of in conjunction with HCD?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, and then what is the monitoring process as time goes on and the monies have been granted and the work has been done? Are the properties monitored for upkeep and maintenance all the way through?
Well, I mean, that, again, we just started this program. So when you talk about monitoring, I guess in a year or so, we'll go back and we'll take a look. But it does have a provision in there where, I mean, we're not going to cite anybody or anything like that. But we will be taking a look at the properties and making sure through the homeowners association that there is upkeep. We're not going to be doing it individually or going to anybody individually, but through our relationship with the homeowners associations, which we've gotten involved in. I mean, gotten involved with the process from the very beginning. You know, that is the way in which we'll look to monitor what's happening.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions of the CRA manager? Okay, Clarence, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Someone like to introduce the resolution?
I think I did already. Or maybe not. I will.
Did, but
so I will.
Okay. So the resolution has been introduced by the Vice Mayor.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency approving additional funding in the amount of $300,000 for the residential facade and landscaping program for Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights area, delegating authority to the Executive Director to approve awards to qualified applicants and to execute any and all documents relating to such awards and providing for an effective date. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Moritas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Glassman?
Yes.
Chair Trentalis?
Yes, and the resolution is approved. Is there any further business of the CRA?
There is not.
Okay, there being none, that meeting is now adjourned. And I guess we'll all return at 6 o'clock tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.